Yun Chuzhou knew that this was not the way to go on. It seemed like there was no way to kill all these monsters. Even if they were tired, they would die from exhaustion. She had to think of a way to end this once and for all. Even if she could think of a way, it would be good if she could take a breather. Yun Chuzhou suddenly remembered the method she had used in the trial tower. This cave could only allow one monster to enter. As long as the monster in front did not die, the monster in the back would not enter. Then, she would let it die half dead. When Yun Chuzhou thought of this, she did not cut off all the little protrusions on the monster's head. Instead, she only cut off half of it. Yun Chuzhou was purely experimenting. She did not know how the monster's little protrusions would look like when half of them were cut off. After the monster's half-cut protrusions, it seemed to have become silly. Its eyes became dull and listless, and its limbs drooped involuntarily. How to describe it? It was as if a living person had become a puppet. A thought flashed through Yun Chuzhou's mind, but she could not catch it in the blink of an eye. Yun Chuzhou panted, indicating that everyone could take a breather. Everyone panted heavily. They did not dare to slack off too much, so they took turns to rest. There was always someone pulling the rope on the monster's limbs, afraid that the monster would suddenly explode. A hissing sound came from outside the cave. Obviously, the other monsters were asking about the situation inside the cave. As the monster inside did not respond, the hissing sound outside became impatient. Yun Chuzhou was secretly happy. No matter how impatient it was useless. Unless it was desperate and dragged the monster out of the cave, it would not be able to come in. After more than 2 hours, Yun Chuzhou saw that everyone had almost recovered. She was afraid that the monster outside the cave would discover something, so she took care of the monster inside the cave. Then, she did the same thing and cut off half of the small protrusions of the new monsters. Everyone was given another 2 hours of rest. Everyone admired Yun Chuzhou. She could even think of such a method. She was really smart. Yun Chuzhou felt that although this method could fool them for a while, it was not a long-term solution. Therefore, she summoned a few sky net poisonous bees and let them go out to check how many monsters were outside. Yun Chuzhou felt that things were really illogical. According to the demon beasts, she had never seen these monsters before. It was as if these monsters had appeared out of thin air. Soon, the sky net poisonous bees flew back and told Yun Chuzhou what they saw. Yun Chuzhou's expression immediately changed. According to the sky net poisonous bees, there were actually monsters everywhere outside. Moreover, not only did those monsters eat demonic beasts, they even ate some trees and herbs. Yun Chuzhou frowned. She remembered that the 8 monsters did not eat trees and herbs. Why did these monsters even eat trees and herbs? Were they too hungry, or were they mutated? They would not eat rocks in the end, right? Yun Chuzhou felt that she could stand shoulder to shoulder with Xiao Hanyo, because just as she thought of this, there was a cracking sound coming from outside. Those monsters actually began to eat rocks. When everyone heard this creepy sound, their legs immediately went soft. If these rocks were eaten clean, they would really have no way to survive. No matter how they thought about it, they seemed to only have a dead end. Yun Chuzhou's mind was blank. Now they were like fish on a chopping board, they could only let the monsters slaughter them. Crack, crack. The sound of the monsters gnawing on the rocks grew louder and louder. Apparently, they had already gnawed off a large part of the rocks. The cave was dead silent. Everyone could already feel the shadow of death. They did not expect that after fighting for so many days, they would still not be able to escape the fate of being eaten. There were only 4 days left until the end of the trial, but they could only watch as the monsters ate them. They were really unwilling. Yun Chuzhou tried to take out the small stone that the cliff of Tiandao gave her, but there was no reaction as expected. Yun Chuzhou clenched her fists and stared at the monster with a cold expression. She felt that there was only one way to do this, and that was to establish a temporary contract with the monster. Only in this way could they know the origins of these monsters and think of a way to survive. Yun Chujio shared her thoughts and everyone looked at her as if she was a lunatic. Regardless of whether this monster was a demonic beast or not, even if it was a demonic beast, its spiritual power level was much higher than Yun Chujio's. In the end, not only would the contract fail, she might even be devoured by this monster. Although Xue Wuji and Jin Ji knew that Yun Chujio was a monster, they were still worried. However, at this point, it seemed that there was no other way to survive. Yun Chujio immediately tried to establish a spiritual connection with the monster. Just as Yun Chujio's spiritual sense entered the monster's spiritual sense, it was entangled by a wisp of black fog. The wisp of black fog tried to devour Yun Chujio's spiritual sense like a ghost. Yun Chujio's primordial spirit immediately struck at the wisp of black fog with purple lightning. The wisp of black fog dissipated after being struck by several small lightning bolts. In everyone's eyes, the monster had actually disappeared into thin air. Yun Chujio did not have time to think carefully before another monster crawled in. Yun Chujio had everyone use ropes to control it and then directly sent their spiritual sense into it. Sure enough, it was exactly the same as before. A wisp of black mist wrapped around Yun Chujio's spiritual sense. After being struck by the lightning bolt, the monster disappeared into thin air. A very bold idea emerged in Yun Chujio's mind. To deal with these monsters, she simply needed to use spiritual power or brute force. She only needed to use her spiritual sense to attack. Therefore, when another monster crawled in, before everyone could control the monster, Yun Chujio's spiritual sense directly probed into the monster's spiritual sense and directed several bolts of lightning at the wisp of black fog. As the black fog dissipated, the monster disappeared into thin air again. Yun Chujio was so excited that she trembled slightly. When another monster came in, Yun Chujio waited until everyone controlled the monster. She cut off half of the small protrusions and told them about her discovery. Everyone felt that the matter was really unbelievable. Only Yun Chujio's divine sense could disperse the black fog, or could everyone? A few of the more daring ones decided to give it a try. In any case, they could just sever their spiritual sense. At most, their spiritual sense would be damaged. The results of their attempts made everyone very excited. Although their operations were not as easy as Yun Chujio's, it was still not a problem for 7 or 8 people to work together to deal with a monster's spiritual sense. Thus, everyone began to speed up the process of killing the monster. Everyone was organized into several groups so that they would not be too tired and their efficiency would be higher. Everyone was pleasantly surprised to find that as the number of monsters killed increased, their spiritual sense also increased a little. This would be very beneficial for their future cultivation. In the end, no monster dared to approach the cave. Everyone was elated. There were only 3 days left until the end of the trial. They only needed to endure another 3 days and they would be completely safe. Yun Chujio's heart was not very stable. She felt that there must be something even more terrifying behind these monsters. What was it? Not only did Yun Chujio arrange for the students to stand guard at the entrance of the cave, she also arranged for several Tianluo poisonous wasps to patrol the surroundings to prevent them from being caught off guard by the monsters. When the moon rose, a Tianluo poisonous wasp flew in and informed Yun Chujio that all the monsters outside had disappeared. After Yun Chujio heard it, not only was she not excited, but the worry in her heart was even greater. She felt that an even greater danger was about to arrive. What Yun Chujio did not know was that at the same time, in the other regions of the Tianluo mystic realm, the students who were being hunted down and tortured suddenly realized that those terrifying monsters had disappeared. Everyone had survived the disaster and could not help but rejoice that they had survived. Compared to the regions where Yun Chujio and the others were located, the monsters in these regions were much fewer. There were only about 5 or 6 of them. Even so, many people were killed and injured because they could not find their vital points. Yun Chujio got up and went outside the cave. The originally lush trees had been eaten by the monsters, leaving only bare soil. Even a large part of the rocks on the cave had been eaten away. Yun Chujio climbed to the top of the mountain and looked into the distance. What she saw could only be described as a complete mess. Other than the mountain range that was still alive, everything else was eaten up by the monsters. Yun Chujio frowned. Those monsters didn't seem to be demonic beasts, so where did all the food they ate go? Why did they suddenly change so much, and even mutate again? They were obviously transformed by the black fog. What was that black fog? Yun Chujio felt that her mind was filled with questions. She sat on the mountaintop for a while, but she could not think of anything. Yun Chujio sighed, climbed down the mountaintop, and walked into the cave. She did not see the students guarding the entrance of the cave, so she could not help but frown. She continued to walk into the cave, thinking that she should scold the students who had left their posts without permission. Then, she was stunned. Everyone in the cave had disappeared. The cave was empty. Only the bonfire on the ground was still burning, but everyone had disappeared into thin air. Yun Chujio rubbed her eyes. Brother Wuji. Beauty Jinji. Sister Bingyu. Yun Chujio called out several times, but only her own reply came back. Yun Chujio quickly asked the patrolling Tian Luo poisonous bees. The Tian Luo poisonous bees said that they had been patrolling outside the cave. They did not know what was happening inside the cave at all. Yun Chujio knocked on the cave and did not find anything wrong. Besides, if there was anything wrong, there would not be an accident now. She felt that the disappearance of these people must be related to the thing behind the monster. Where did it take the people? If Yun Chujio was a cold-hearted person, she could completely ignore the lives of those people. She only needed to wait for 3 more days and she would be able to leave safely. Unfortunately, she was not. Although she was sometimes wicked and evil, she could not leave her friends to die. She knew that if she did not go and save them, Shui Wuji and Jin Ji would only die. Yun Chujio's mind was in a mess. She had no clue at all. These people seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Where would she go to save them? Yun Chujio walked around the cave like a headless fly for dozens of rounds before she finally calmed down. No matter how anxious she was, it was useless. She had to calm down before she could think of an effective solution. The most important thing now was to find out where they were trapped. This Tianluo mystic realm was so vast that it had no boundaries. Even the area they were in was very vast. Where exactly had Shui Wuji and the others been taken to? Yun Chujio was in a hurry to think of a feasible solution. She released all the poisonous wasps of Tianluo from her spirit beast bag. There were hundreds of thousands of them. She told them to quickly spread out and report to her as soon as there was anything wrong. These poisonous wasps of Tianluo immediately flew away. Yun Chujio knew that she still had a tough battle to fight, so she forced herself to close her eyes to meditate so that she could reserve enough energy. An hour passed, but there was no news. 2 hours passed, but there was still no news. 4 hours, 6 hours. When the sun rose, finally, a Tianluo poisonous wasp sent the news. According to it, it found a cave with black fog drifting away, and the black fog looked similar to the black fog when the monster dissipated. Yun Chujio was immediately delighted and rode the demon beast to the location pointed out by the sky net wasp. The demon beasts ran with Yun Chujio on their backs as fast as they could. They were very glad that if it were not for Yun Chujio, they would have been devoured by the monster by now. If they didn't destroy the thing behind the monsters, they wouldn't be able to survive in the future. Therefore, they were now like grasshoppers on the same rope as Yun Chujio. They could only support each other in order to fight their way out. Yun Chuzhou changed several demon beasts in succession and finally reached the position pointed out by the Sky Net poisonous bee at the fastest speed. The Sky Net poisonous bee was very smart. It hid behind a mound. In addition to its small size, it wasn't discovered by the black fog that was spreading everywhere. Yun Chuzhou, on the other hand, could not do that. Her target was too big, and she was discovered by the black fog as soon as she got close. The black fog immediately turned into several monsters and pounced on Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou also went all out. She divided her spiritual sense into several parts and attacked the monsters separately. If others knew that Yun Chuzhou did this, they would definitely call her a lunatic. Spiritual sense was extremely important and extremely fragile. If her spiritual sense was killed, her spiritual sense would be severely injured. At worst, it would hinder her cultivation in the future. At worst, she would become a fool. However, Yun Chuzhou had no other choice at this moment. She was alone. She could only use this method to quickly kill those monsters. Fortunately, the purple lightning in Yun Chuzhou's spiritual sense seemed to be the nemesis of the black fog. In the blink of an eye, the black fog in the spiritual sense of the monsters was destroyed by the lightning, and the monsters disappeared into thin air. Yun Chuzhou withdrew her spiritual sense, holding a large kitchen knife in her hand, and carefully approached the cave. As soon as she approached the cave, Yun Chuzhou smelled the thick smell of blood. Her head buzzed. Was she too late? Yun Chuzhou thought that Xue Wuji and Jin Ji had met with misfortune. Her eyes turned red, and there was even a faint sound of purple lightning crackling inside. Yun Chuzhou did not notice the strange phenomenon in her eyes. At this moment, she only had one thought, and that was to save people. This cave was not formed naturally because Yun Chuzhou found that the ground was actually paved with green stone slabs. What frightened Yun Chuzhou the most was that there was actually a pattern of the resurrection lily on the green stone slabs. Was it the divine devil hall again? Why were there frequent traces of the divine devil hall in the ancient mystic realm? Yun Chuzhou had a vague idea in her heart, but she felt that it was very absurd. She felt that her heart had been too tense recently, which was why she had such an absurd idea. Yun Chuzhou originally thought that there would be another black fog coming to stop her in the tunnel, but she did not expect that she had actually reached the end of the tunnel very smoothly. At the end of the tunnel was a wide stone hall. Yun Chuzhou did not have the time to examine the structure of the stone hall, because she felt that the blood in her body was about to freeze. Xue Wuji and the others were fixed on the stone wall. Each of their chests had been cut open, and there was a limb sucking blood on the wound. These limbs belonged to a red monster. The monster's body was coiled on a stone platform, and its appearance was exactly the same as the previous monsters. However, the color was more gorgeous, and there was a black horn on its head. Yun Chuzhou jumped up and raised the kitchen knife, slashing at the black horn on the monster's head. She felt that the black horn must be the monster's weakness. The monster hissed and sneered, but it did not release its blood-sucking limbs. The black horn on its head emitted countless black fog and wrapped around Yun Chuzhou. The black fog did not turn into a monster, but directly invaded Yun Chuzhou's spiritual sense. The intention was obvious, it was to devour Yun Chuzhou's spiritual sense. After the monster hissed and sneered, it said in human language, "Little girl, I originally wanted to capture you and bring you back, but I didn't expect you to be lucky enough to escape. You are really stupid. You actually came to me by yourself. Since that's the case, I will fulfill your wish. The blood of the heavenly thunder spirit root is like a tiger with wings to help me recover my strength." Although Yun Chuzhou wanted to scold him, she was currently engaged in a chaotic battle in her spiritual sense, so she had no time to pay attention to him. At first, the monster was still feeling smug, but soon, it couldn't feel smug anymore. That was because it realized that not only did Yun Chuzhou's spiritual sense contain purple lightning, but there were also countless weapon spirits. Those Qi Ling had been hungry for a long time. They did not dare to devour Yun Chujia's spiritual sense. Now that they saw the black fog, they were like hungry wolves. They were all Qi Ling who attacked spirit or immortal weapons. They had always tried to fight, now that they finally had a chance, they were naturally elated. Yun Chujio saw that she did not need to do anything. She simply withdrew her spiritual sense and left the black fog to the Qi Ling to deal with. Yun Chujio raised her hand and released all the demonic beasts. Attack together. Kill it, the monster couldn't believe its eyes. How could this stinky girl have such a large number of demonic beasts? And they were all high-level demonic beasts. No wonder the monsters it sent out before didn't catch any high-level demonic beasts. It turned out that they were all in the hands of this stinky girl. In order to survive, the demon beasts began to attack the monster's limbs. Although the monster's limbs were extremely tough, they could not withstand the attacks of so many demon beasts. They had no choice but to stop sucking blood and use their limbs to deal with the demon beasts. Yun Chujio took the large kitchen knife and slashed at the monster's black horn again. Seeing that the black fog was of limited effect, the monster suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a stream of black poison that was as black as ink towards Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio did not dodge. The large kitchen knife in her hand still slashed at the monster's black horn. Crack! The monster's black horn broke. What Yun Chujio expected did not happen. The monster did not turn into black fog and disappear like the previous monsters. The monster hissed, "Stupid girl. You actually destroyed my devil's horn. However, as long as I absorb the blood of these people and demonic beasts, my devil's horn will grow back. As for you, you've already been poisoned by my venom. You're dead." Yun Chujio looked at it as if it was an idiot. She raised her kitchen knife and slashed at its right eye. The monster thought that Yun Chujio was dead for sure after being poisoned by the poison. It did not expect that Yun Chujio would be able to cut it again. It was too late for it to stop Yun Chujio with its limbs. The monster's right eye was cut into a bloody mess by Yun Chujio. It flew into a rage and used its thickest limb to strangle Yun Chujio, wanting to strangle her to death. Yun Chujio slashed at the limb, and the bucket-sized limb was instantly cut off, and black juice flowed out from it. The monster was both shocked and scared. You're not human. How can you not be afraid of my venom?" Yun Chujio still did not say anything. She jumped up again and slashed at the monster's left eye. Although she was usually willing to be arrogant, it did not mean that she did not know her limits. At this time, the priority was to kill the monster, there was no need to argue with it. The monster knew the power of the big kitchen knife. It cunningly rolled up a few students to block in front of it. It laughed strangely and hissed, "Stupid girl, go ahead and attack. Quickly put down the kitchen knife, or I will strangle them to death." The students looked terrified. They did not know what Yun Chujio would choose. Even if they were sacrificed, it was still acceptable. After all, sacrificing more than 10 of them could save the remaining hundreds of people. Yun Chujio stared at the monster's left eye. The purple lightning in her eye started to crackle. Both the monster and the students were stunned by this strange scene. How could there be a purple lightning in a human's eye? However, they suddenly felt that their spiritual sense was a little blurry. They tried their best to open their eyes, but they could not. The monster's left eye had also become blurry. Yun Chujio did not know what was happening in her eyes, but she seemed to be a little distracted when she saw the monster. How could she let go of such a perfect opportunity? Yun Chujio jumped up and slashed at the monster's left eye. Then, she took the opportunity to cut off the monster's limbs and saved the trapped students. Yun Chujio jumped to the ground and cut off the monster's 4 legs. Then, she slashed at the monster. The monster was furious. She didn't believe that it wouldn't die even if she chopped the monster into meat paste. At first, the monster tried to struggle, but it met a monster. Yun Chujia's body had been dyed black, but she was still alive and kicking. On the contrary, some students and monsters were accidentally contaminated by the black liquid, and a piece of their flesh was corroded. The monster gradually lost its breath. Just when Yun Chujio was about to let out a sigh of relief, a cloud of black mist flew out of the monster's body, trying to escape. Yun Chujio used her spiritual sense to kill the cloud of black mist in a moment of desperation. Yun Chujia's head was buzzing. Think of a way. Think of a way. She had already used all her strength to attack the black fog with her spiritual sense, but there was no way to completely destroy it in a short period of time. How could she stop it from self-destructing? In a moment of desperation, Yun Chujio used her hand to tear apart the black fog. This fellow's idea was very simple. The balloon would naturally break after it was pierced through. The black fog would make it split into two, so it would not be able to explode. The result was obvious. The black fog was not solid, and Yun Chujia's plan to tear the black fog apart completely failed. She was ridiculed by the monster. Hiss, hiss. Stupid girl, do you know fear? As long as you stop your spiritual sense attack and let me out, I will stop self-destructing. Otherwise, all of you present will die. Yun Chujio ignored it. All sorts of ideas flashed through her mind. If she could not tear it apart with her hands, her spiritual sense attack would not be effective for a while. What should she do? The black fog saw that not only did Yun Chujio not stop her attack, but her attack became even more intense. It was instantly angered from embarrassment, and the black fog began to expand rapidly. Seeing this, Yun Chujio was furious. She did not care about anything else and opened her mouth to suck in the black fog. The great void mirror in her dantian was so angry that it almost turned into a corpse. Was this guy afraid that she would not die thoroughly enough? If the black fog expanded in her body, she would be blown into pieces. Just as the great void mirror was thinking about this, Yun Chujio said with her spiritual sense, "Listen up, the three of you. If you don't think of a way to deal with this monster, you will become homeless stray dogs." Guai Chao in her dantian, black bead in her dantian, supreme void mirror in her dantian, are you crazy? What does this have to do with them? This is like pushing a duck onto the rack. Yun Chujio was very calculating in her heart. Since the supreme void mirror could see that the monster was about to explode, there must be a way to stop it. Moreover, the Guai Chao could be ignored. The black bead usually ate everything except for food. It was time for it to contribute. Finally, Yun Chujio was not stupid. Of course, she would not risk her life to not swallow the black fog. She only swallowed a part of it to test the reaction of the three in her dantian before making her next move. When the black mist saw Yun Chujio biting it with her mouth, it was dumbfounded. It had thought of many possibilities, but it did not expect Yun Chujio to actually want to suck it into her stomach. Was there something wrong with this stupid girl's head? Wasn't she courting death? But it was fine. Since she was courting death, she would fulfill her wish. Therefore, the small portion of the black mist that was swallowed by Yun Chujio was going to sneak into Yun Chujia's dantian. As long as she blew up the stupid girl's dantian, she would die. Once this stinky girl died, the remaining humans and demonic beasts were nothing to be afraid of. The monster thought very well, but when it reached Yun Chujia's dantian, it was dumbfounded. Fuck, was this a human's dantian? Whose dantian was filled with purple lightning? If it entered the dantian, it would be suicide. The monster quickly wanted to run back. No matter what, any place was much safer than the dantian. It was quite wishful thinking. Before it could run, it was sucked into the dantian by a huge suction force. Then, there was no then. Countless purple lightning bolts struck the black fog clean, as if nothing had happened. The leaves of the Guai Chao swayed. Io, this little girl's move actually worked. It was really a blind cat meeting a dead mouse. The grand illusionary mirror glanced at the black bead. It had originally planned to make a move, but it did not expect the black bead to make a move before it did. This old thing was really proactive this time. The monster outside screamed. It did not expect that Yun Chuji's Dantian actually had purple lightning. What kind of monster was this? The monster was afraid that Yun Chujio would devour it again, so it changed its face. It said pitifully, "Stinky, little girl, little fairy, let's talk it out. As long as you let me go, I will definitely not mistreat you. I will give you all the Tianluo flowers and high-level herbs in the Tianluo mystic realm as a reward. Not only that, I will also agree to 3 conditions. With such a powerful helper like me, you will definitely become a powerhouse in the future." Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth. "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in any strong person. I'm hungry now." As Yun Chujio spoke, she began to suck on the black fog. If she let go of this monster, wouldn't she become the farmer who was bitten by a snake? She was not that stupid. The black fog struggled desperately, but Yun Chujia's spiritual sense had been firmly locked onto it. It had no way of escaping. In addition, Yun Chujio had sucked all kinds of strange poison in the past, so she had some experience in swallowing things. Not long after, she bit off another part of the black fog. After that part of the black fog was sucked into Yun Chujia's body, she was afraid that it would be hit by the small lightning in her dantian, so she planned to explode on the spot and kill Yun Chujio first. Unexpectedly, there was a huge suction force from her dantian. She had no choice but to be sucked into her dantian again, and was struck into nothingness by the small purple lightning. The remaining black fog outside said in a flustered and exasperated manner, "Stinky girl. You are the monster. How do you think they will look at you when they see that you can actually suck me dry? If I were you, I would kill these people to silence them and then join hands with me to share the glory of eternal life. You should take care of yourself." Yun Chujio smiled brightly. "Thank you for the reminder, but I still have to eat you because I am even hungrier now. You'll regret it. I curse you to be eternally doomed. You'll die a horrible death." Before the black fog could finish speaking, it was swallowed by Yun Chujio. Then, it met the same fate as the black fog from before. After it was sucked into the dantian, it was struck into nothingness by the purple lightning. Yun Chujio looked inside and saw that there was nothing wrong. Then, she looked at the people trapped on the ground and the stone wall. "I don't want people to know that I'm not afraid of the black poison and the black fog. So, you can swear." Yun Chujia's voice was very calm, but her tone was unyielding. Everyone obediently swore. It was not because they were aware of it, nor was it because they were grateful. It was because no matter who was forced by the kitchen knife to their neck, they would not dare to refuse. Yun Chujio saved the person who was fixed to the wall. After letting everyone take the healing pills, she sat on the spot and meditated. Yun Chujio used this opportunity to make up a story, saying that the monster was struck by lightning and died suddenly. This way, she could avoid a lot of trouble. Of course, she still had to tell everyone about the resurrection lily. She could use this excuse to tell Dean Gongsun about Teacher Ma. Yun Chujio pried off a few pieces of bluestone from the ground and prepared to use them as evidence. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Yun Chujio was prying the stone slab when she noticed the movement of the stone table under the monster. Everyone's expression changed. Could there be another monster? Even if Yun Chujio was a monster, it would be hard enough if another one came. Yun Chujio held a large kitchen knife and stared at the stone table. Unexpectedly, a pitiful cry for help came from inside. "Help! Help! Quickly save me! I'm the Qi Ling of this Tianluo mystic realm." "Qi Ling?" Yun Chujio frowned. She took out a rolling pin and made it grow longer. Then, she hit the stone platform. The stone platform was immediately smashed into several pieces. Only then did everyone realize that the stone platform was empty. There was a strange thing inside. Although that thing looked 70% human-like, it had a pair of huge protruding ears and a furry tail behind it. That thing was tightly bound by the iron chain. It cried, "Good Samaritan, please save me. Please help me untie the chain. I'm the Qi Ling of this Tianluo mystic realm. As long as you let me go, I'll definitely be rewarded." Everyone looked at Yun Chujio. After this series of events, they had treated Yun Chujio as their backbone. They did not dare to make decisions casually. Yun Chujio glanced at the thing that called itself Qi Ling and curled her lips. "You said that you are the Qi Ling of Tianluo mystic realm. How can you prove it? I think you must be the remnant of that monster." The thing whimpered, "Aren't you making things difficult for me? How can I prove that I am me? This is an unreasonable request. If I were the remnant of that thing, would I be trapped here? How to prove it is your own business. If you can't prove it, then I can only kill you to prevent any future troubles." Yun Chujio said with a cold smile. That thing rolled its eyes and stopped crying. Its tone became fierce. "Damn girl. Don't refuse the toast with force. I am the Qi Ling of this Tianluo mystic realm. If you don't let me go, none of you will be able to get out. Even if your teleportation formation is useless, you will be trapped here until you die." Some people looked at Yun Chujio when they heard what the thing said. The meaning was obvious. It was better to let the thing go. Otherwise, it would be bad if they were trapped here. Yun Chujio walked to the thing with a big kitchen knife. She rubbed the kitchen knife on the thing's face. "Are you threatening me? I dare to kill that monster. What are you, a Qi Ling? If you really have spiritual power, would you ask us for help? Are you kidding me?" The creature's eyes flickered. "Humph. Although my spiritual power is trapped, I still have a lot of supernatural powers. Otherwise, how do you think you guys got here? Wasn't it me who teleported you here?" After the creature finished speaking, it immediately received the resentful gazes of everyone. It was dumbfounded. "It's over. It said it was bald." Yun Chujio looked at that thing coldly, but she did not curse it. Instead, she said slowly, "You can teleport us away now. That way, no one will look for you to settle the score. Then, you can be tied up like this forever. This little posture is quite beautiful." That thing almost passed out. Beautiful? Try being tied up like a dumpling. Although it could teleport Yun Chujio and the others away, no one could help it remove the chains on its body. Although it could teleport people from other areas, it was still worried. Qi Ling was very shrewd. Although it was trapped under the stone platform, it could still learn everything that had happened. It felt that although the little girl in front of it was a little sinister, she had a kind nature. At the very least, she would not kill it. If she found someone else, then it would be hard to say. "Missy, I was wrong. Let's discuss it properly, okay? As long as you save me, I will definitely repay you properly." Qi Ling was cowardly and decided that no matter what, she would first regain her freedom. Everyone was stunned by the speed at which Qi Ling changed her expression. She had a threatening expression just a moment ago, but now she had become so obsequious. If she was not tied up, her tail would probably be wagging. Yun Chujio glanced at Qi Ling. "How are you going to repay me?" Qi Ling rolled her eyes. "Didn't you come in to pick the sky luo flowers? I will give you a lot of sky luo flowers." Yun Chujio sneered. "Let's talk about the matter of repayment. Tell me about the monster honestly. If you dare to lie, HMPH. Qi Ling blinked its eyes and was about to say something. Yun Chujio took the kitchen knife and cut a hole on its ear. "This is a warning. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. If you dare to be dishonest, I'll cut off your ears and fry them. Qi Ling felt that it was most likely wrong. What kind of character was this? This was a vicious and merciless female devil. Hence, it changed its mind. Qi Ling silently recited the chant in its heart. It was fully convinced that after reciting the chant, these people would all disappear in front of it. After it finished reciting, it sadly discovered that, indeed, almost all the people had disappeared. However, the people it hated the most did not disappear. They were still in front of it. It then remembered that the monster had set up a formation on this stone platform. Otherwise, it would have taken the monster away long ago. Yun Chujiu was very smart. When she saw that everyone had disappeared on the spot, she knew that this was the work of the Qi Ling. With a thought, she also understood the reason why she was not teleported away. Yun Chujiu used the kitchen knife to cut the Qi Ling's big ear again. She said coldly, "Fine, you little thing, you actually played tricks on me. Unfortunately, there should be a formation here, right? You didn't teleport me away. How do you think I should punish you? Should I cut off your ear or your tail?" The Qi Ling said in a hurry, "Miss, you misunderstood me. I was afraid that after they heard about the benefits I gave you, they would get greedy and treat you badly, so I sent them away." "Little thing, do you really believe what you just said? Cut the crap. I want the seeds of the 1,000-leaf golden grade lotus and the dragon blood ginseng. If you can take them out, I'll let you go. Otherwise, I'll kill you with lightning." Qi Ling shivered. Although it was very tough and would not die easily, it was still a little afraid of lightning. Moreover, this female devil in front of him used a knife to chop at him without a word. It was really deadly. "Miss, my Tianluo mystic realm only has the dragon blood ginseng and not the lotus seeds of the 1,000-leaf golden grade lotus. Can I use other heaven-grade spirit herbs to compensate you?" Yun Chujiu also knew that it was already very good that she could find one of these two herbs. Therefore, after bargaining, Yun Chujiu extorted a lot of defensive spirit tools and heaven-grade spirit herbs from the Qi Ling before she reached an agreement. After Yun Chujiu put the item into her storage ring, she looked at the Qi Ling with a smile and had no intention of letting it go. Qi Ling panicked. "Miss, why didn't you let me go?" Yun Chujiu looked at it with a smile. "Because I didn't keep my word. I bullied Qi Ling. Do you have any objections?" Qi Ling choked and fainted. It was too shameless. It had never seen such a shameless person. Yun Chujiu curled her lips and poured a basin of cold water on Qi Ling. The sad Qi Ling woke up and cried loudly. "You can't bully Qi Ling like this. Doesn't your conscience hurt? That's enough. Tell me about that monster." "As long as you tell me the truth, I'll let you go," Yun Chujiu said with a serious expression. Qi Ling pouted and told her what happened. Qi Ling had always been the ruler of the Tianluo arcane realm. It was living a comfortable life. However, 3 months ago, the monster suddenly broke into the place where Qi Ling was and brought Qi Ling to this cave. The Qi Ling summoned some demon beasts to rescue it, but unfortunately, they were all killed by the monster. Seeing this, the Qi Ling had no choice but to give up the idea of letting the demon beasts rescue it. It could only place its hopes on the humans who had come for the trial. It was unknown if the monster still had the Qi Ling, but it didn't do anything other than tying it up and trapping it inside the stone platform. Ever since the monster entered the cave, it had never gone out. It had only recently transformed its spiritual sense into a few monsters to go out to hunt for food. Especially on the night of the full 15th month, it released countless monsters. It seemed that as the monsters ate, its strength became stronger. "Miss, I have no choice but to bring those people here. That monster threatened me. If I don't bring those people here, it will kill all the creatures in the other areas." "I will surrender," Qi Ling said guiltily. Yun Chujio snorted. It would be a ghost if she believed its nonsense. It was probably because the monster threatened Qi Ling that Qi Ling gave in. Yun Chujio was concerned about another matter. She asked Qi Ling, "Let me ask you, when was this cave built? And who carved the patterns on the green stone slabs on the ground?" Qi Ling looked confused and innocent. "Miss, I can swear to God that since I became conscious, I have never found a cave here. If I hadn't been caught and brought here, I wouldn't have known that there was such a place in my territory." "Then when did you become conscious?" "I can't count it. It has existed for tens of thousands of years." Qi Ling looked a little uncomfortable when he said this. He kept calling her little sister, as if he was pretending to be young. Yun Chujio looked at Qi Ling's expression. It didn't look like it was lying. Could it be that the so-called Divine Devil Hall had existed for tens of thousands of years? Yun Chujio felt that the Divine Devil Hall was very strange and dangerous. Su Yenran was taken away by a pair of giant hands that tore through the void. She didn't know where she was taken to. Yun Chujio had a feeling that she and Su Yenran would meet again. At that time, Su Yanran's strength would probably become very terrifying. Qi Ling saw that Yun Chujio's expression had changed and did not speak, so he anxiously urged her, "Miss, I've told you everything I know. Quickly let me go. If you bring her back, they'll let you go. I won't lie to you this time." Yun Chujio recovered and said to Qi Ling. Qi Ling brought Shui Wuji and the others back and looked at Yun Chujio expectantly. Yun Chujio curled her lips. "Little thing, why don't you learn your lesson? I'm just teasing you." Qi Ling, damn it, it didn't want to live anymore. No one should stop it. It decided to die of stupidity. Shui Wuji and the others looked at the scene in front of them in confusion. Why was it that after a while, the Qi Ling was like an eggplant that had been hit by frost? Wasn't he quite lively before? Enough. Stop pretending to be dead. These people were all brought here by you. You can't let them be scared for nothing, right? Hurry up and get some compensation for them. This time, I promise I won't lie to you. Yun Chujio used the tip of her foot to kick the Qi Ling that was pretending to be dead. Qi Ling sobbed and gave everyone some sky luo flowers and high-level spirit herbs. Then, it looked at Yun Chujio pitifully. "First, swear that you won't take revenge on us. Then, they'll let you go." Yun Chujio didn't think that the Qi Ling in front of her was easy to get along with. It was always right to make it swear. The Qi Ling originally had a little thought of revenge, but now it had completely dispelled it because it finally understood that the person in front of it was not human. It was better not to play tricks with her. After Yun Chujio waited for the Qi Ling to make the poison vow, she reached out her hand to help the Qi Ling open the chain. She did not expect that the chain was made of an unknown material. She could not open it at all. Moreover, she did not find any mechanism. Yun Chujio spread her hands helplessly. "Little thing, it's not that I have broken my promise. It's just that I can't open the chain that binds you." The Qi Ling was about to howl. It had given away its things and its moral integrity, but in the end, it could not open the chain. Was there anything worse than this in the world? Yun Chujio's conscience was rarely on the line. She probed, "Why don't I throw you into the fire and burn you? Maybe I can melt the chain." Qi Ling rolled his eyes. This time, he really fainted. "Throw him into the fire and burn him? Are you sure you want to unchain him and not burn him to death?" Yun Chujio touched her nose. Was what she said wrong? Qi Ling was not a demon beast. He should not be able to burn him to death, right? Jinji really could not stand it. She walked to Yun Chujio's side and said, "Little Jiu, try using your big kitchen knife. I think your big kitchen knife should be able to cut the chain." Yun Chuzhou felt that Jin Ji's words made sense, so she raised her big kitchen knife and prepared to cut the chain on Qi Ling's body. Coincidentally, Qi Ling woke up at this time. When she opened her eyes, she saw Yun Chuzhou raising her big kitchen knife to cut it. She was so scared that she rolled her eyes and fainted again. The corner of Yun Chuzhou's eyes twitched. It was rare for Qi Ling to be so stupid. Yun Chuzhou took the big kitchen knife and cut the chain. She did not expect it to cut the chain as easily as cutting a radish. Yun Chuzhou had the principle of not wasting good things, so she put the chain into her storage ring naturally. Qi Ling woke up again and found that she had regained her freedom. She was so happy that she did not want it anymore. Qi Ling clearly remembered to eat but not to hit. Although Yun Chuzhou had taught it a lesson previously, ever since Yun Chuzhou had treated it to a barbecue, it had been following Yun Chuzhou around. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the trial to end. Yun Chuzhou cancelled the temporary contract between the demon beast and the queen bee. Then, she comforted Qi Ling who was crying. A white light flashed and they left the Tianluo mystic realm. The people outside the Tianluo mystic realm had no idea what was happening in the mystic realm. When they saw that less than 70% of the people had come out, they all panicked. Everyone talked about their experiences. The people in the other regions had only been attacked by monsters. They did not know anything else. Everyone was confused. In the end, a certain Jiu came online and told them everything. Of course, in the process of explaining, there was naturally some work to be done, especially highlighting a certain Jiu's lofty sentiment of taking the big picture into consideration and sacrificing herself for others. Although the people who were saved by Yun Chuzhou felt that this guy was a little exaggerated, they also nodded their heads. If it weren't for Yun Chuzhou, they wouldn't have been able to escape. After Yun Chuzhou was done talking, she took out the green stone slab with the Higan flower pattern and told them about the situation regarding the Divine Devil Hall in the Qingxian continent and the Tian Yuan continent. She didn't tell them about Teacher Ma in front of everyone. She wanted to see how everyone would react. Moreover, who knew if Teacher Ma had any accomplices? It was better to tell Dean Gongsun in secret so as to avoid alerting him. When everyone heard Yun Chuzhou's words, they were instantly in an uproar. Divine Demon Hall. Earth Profound Qi. Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu looked at each other. Although they usually didn't see eye to eye, this matter was of great importance. At this moment, the two of them had finally gotten rid of their differences and gathered together to discuss this matter. The two of them had a simple discussion. They felt that this matter was not something that their two academies could resolve. They had to inform the other factions before making any further plans. This time, many people had died and injured, especially in the WA Stone Academy. Their student identities were not ordinary. One could imagine that it would cause a huge uproar. The two principals were deeply worried. If they had known this would happen, they would not have allowed the students to enter the Tianluo mystic realm. However, there was nothing they could do to make up for their regret. They could only let the students and the teachers return to the academy first and deal with the aftermath. The next day, Yun Chuzhou went to Dean Gongsun and told him about Teacher Ma. Of course, this fellow also did some processing. He said that Teacher Ma had been killed by a golden light and that the credit was placed on Tiandao Cliff. Dean Gongsun heard this and the worry in his heart grew. Teacher Ma had entered Xingtian Academy more than 10 years ago. Could it be that the Divine Devil Hall had already started their preparations at that time? Yun Chuzhou passed the jade token of the Resurrection Lily and the identity jade token that she had found from Teacher Ma to Dean Gongsun. Then, she said, "Dean, there might be some of Teacher Ma's accomplices in this academy. Therefore, it's best not to announce Teacher Ma's matter to the public, lest we alert the enemy." Dean Gongsun nodded. "I understand. You also have to be more careful. This time, you've ruined the Divine Devil Hall's good deed. I'm afraid they won't let you off. Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat, and she said with a troubled expression, Dean, what you said is exactly what I'm worried about. I didn't sleep last night. I have a favor to ask of you, and I want to ask for your help. What is it? I can be said to be a thorn in the Divine Devil Hall's side right now. Moreover, they are in the dark while I'm in the light. My situation is really too dangerous. I heard that in a few months, the Primordial Chaos sect will be recruiting new disciples, so I want to apply. Can you grant me 2 months of leave? If I can pass, I will go to the Primordial Chaos sect. If I can't pass, I will return to school. Yun Chujio said sincerely. This, Dean Gongsun was in a difficult position. Usually, it was fine to ask for leave, but if he went to apply for the Primordial Chaos sect midway, it wouldn't make sense. Besides, although Yun Chujia's spiritual power had increased, it was almost like a fool's dream for her to get into the Primordial Chaos sect. There was no way she could get into the sect. Dean, as the saying goes, special matters are specially handled. To put it bluntly, if it weren't for my intelligence and cleverness, all the students in the 2 academies would have died. I have made a great contribution. If anyone is unconvinced, you can ask him to look for me personally. It'll definitely make him completely convinced. Yun Chujio straightened her back, she spoke quite confidently. When Dean Gongsun heard Yun Chujia's words, his heart relaxed a little. Indeed, if it wasn't for this little girl, he would have reached his limit as the dean. Dean, what if I managed to pass the entrance examination? This would also give our Xingtian Academy's dean face, wouldn't it? When the time comes, our Xingtian Academy will be able to suppress the WA Stone Academy. This is a win-win situation. These words were said in Dean Gongsun's heart. He had spent most of his energy on competing with Dean Situ over the past few years. Finally, he nodded. Alright, I'll make an exception for you. It would be best if you get into the academy, but if you don't, hurry up and come back to class. Thank you, Dean Gongsun. I knew you were more open-minded than that Dean Situ. Don't worry, I'll definitely get into the academy. I'll do my best for you. Yun Chujio said with twinkling eyes. Dean Gongsun tried his best to be serious, but the corners of his mouth couldn't help curling up. Apparently, he was very happy to hear Yun Chujio say that he was better than Dean Situ. Director sir, this is the Sky Luo secret realm of Qi Ling gave me, my alchemy level is limited, keep it will be wasted, or give you. You refine the pills, give me a few I will be satisfied. Yun Chujio said and handed Dean Gongsun a big wooden box. Dean Gongsun took it and opened it. He was immediately stunned. The wooden box was filled with heaven-rank spirit herbs, and there were as many as 8 of them. Dean Gongsun's hands began to tremble. It must be known that 8 heaven-rank spirit herbs were worth at least 1 billion high-grade spirit stones, and even if one had the money, one might not be able to buy them. Dean Gongsun was about to refuse. Yun Chujio said with a distressed face, Dean, you can't refuse me. My spiritual power is low, and am always on tenterhooks with these things. It's simply a crime to have a treasure. Please do me a favor and accept this hot potato. Dean Gongsun naturally knew that Yun Chujio was just making excuses, but he couldn't bear to part with these spiritual herbs, so he was very conflicted. Yun Chujio giggled, she said with a cheeky smile, Dean, if you feel bad, then let Jin Ji and Xue Wuji go with me to participate in the Primordial Chaos Sex entrance test. I'm timid, so I'm a little afraid to go alone. Dean Gongsun, he had been tricked. He had fallen into Yun Chujia's trap. This little girl had lured him into a trap step by step. This little girl had probably planned to get 3 spots from the start. However, she had only mentioned herself in the beginning. After he had agreed, she had used high-grade spirit herbs as bait to force him to agree to let Jin Ji and Xue Wuji go with her. Dean Gongsun sighed in his heart. He still could not escape the word greed. However, Yun Chuzhou and the other two were not ordinary people. Sooner or later, they would soar to the sky. It was not a big deal to owe them a favor. Dean Gongsun's face was stern. He reprimanded Yun Chuzhou indifferently and said, "Forget it. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji have contributed a lot this time. Let them go with you." After Yun Chuzhou thanked him profusely, she left Dean Gongsun's courtyard. This guy couldn't wait to find Shui Wuji and Jin Ji and tell them everything. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji were naturally very happy. The three of them chatted and laughed. Jin Ji said, "Little Jiu, it's going to be a month's holiday soon. What are you going to do?" Yun Chuzhou touched her nose. "I have enemies all over the world now. I'm really afraid that I'll be hunted down once I leave Tianluo City. Otherwise, let's cultivate in the academy. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time." Shui Wuji and Jin Ji looked at Yun Chuzhou speechlessly. She was right. This guy's ability to attract aggro was truly rare in this world. Lu Shi, Gu Shi, Yi Xinhuan, along with the Lu and Fan families, as well as the Divine Devil Hall, this guy's enemies could be counted on one hand. The three of them discussed and decided to stay in the Xingtian Academy to cultivate. In any case, a month's time would pass very quickly. Unexpectedly, the plan didn't change as quickly. Just as Yun Chuzhou was about to obediently spend her holiday in the Xingtian Academy, Dean Gongsun found her and said, "Due to the importance of what happened in the Tianluo mystic realm, the Sky-Bearing Alliance has gathered all the major powers in the immortal Yuan continent, including the Hunyuan sect and the Killing Yuan sect, to discuss the Divine Devil Hall's matters in the Rising Sky City. As you have dealt with the Divine Devil Hall before, and you are also aware of the Divine Devil Hall's matters in the Azure Mystic Continent and the Tian Yuan continent. Therefore, I request that you participate as well. Go back and pack up. Tomorrow, you will rush to the Rising Sky City with me." Yun Chuzhou naturally agreed. What a joke. If she didn't agree, wouldn't she be looking for trouble? Besides, it was a good thing to meet all the big shots. Maybe the sect master of the Primordial Chaos sect would be kind enough to let her enter the sect directly. This fellow was daydreaming, seducing Shui Wuji and Jin Ji to go shopping together. This fellow first bought a lot of chili noodles, and then bought a lot of pots and buckets. He even bought a few large vats. Jin Ji was very puzzled. "Little Jiu, I can understand why you bought so many pots and buckets. Why did you buy so many of them?" Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, "Of course it's to pretend to be delicious. Think about it. With so many big shots gathered together, how could there not be food and drinks? Moreover, the food and drinks must be high-end goods. I don't plan to order pots or anything. What will I use to pretend when the time comes?" Jin Ji, "Alright, forget it." She didn't know such a shameless person. Not only did this person buy these things, but he also bought some random things, such as red cloth, rapeseed oil, ropes, and so on. He had almost bought out the other person's grocery store. This person had thought it through. Perhaps he would use something, so it wouldn't be a problem to prepare more. Besides, she had plenty of spirit stones at the moment. To her, spirit stones were just a number, okay? The feeling of acting cool was really great. The next morning, Yun Chuzhou left Xingtian Academy with Dean Gongsun in high spirits. When they arrived outside Tianluo City, they saw Dean Situ exchanging greetings with Mayor Huang. Besides a few guards, there was also an extremely luxurious flying spirit tool behind the two of them. Yun Chuzhou guessed with her toes that it must belong to the local tyrant, Mayor Huang. Dean Gongsun nodded slightly at the two of them as a greeting. Just as Dean Gongsun was about to introduce Yun Chuzhou to Mayor Huang, he heard Yun Chuzhou say in a crisp voice, great-grandfather Huang, I haven't seen you for a few days. Why do you look so much younger? Damn, I'm too embarrassed to call you great-grandfather. Calling you great-grandfather makes me feel a little old. Dean Gongsun and Dean Situ almost sat on the ground. What was this? When did this Yun Chuzhou become Mayor Huang's granddaughter? Wasn't she from the Yi family? Could it be that the Yi family's great-grandfather and Mayor Huang were brothers? But they also had different surnames. Also, Mayor Huang's old face looked older than them. How could he be young? Little girl, is there something wrong with your eyes? Is it really good for you to suck up so blatantly? Mayor Huang was also stunned when he heard Yun Chujia's words. Then, he laughed out loud. You little girl, you sure know how to talk. Don't you know that I feel much younger after looking in the mirror these past 2 days? Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu nearly vomited. Pooey. Your old face is like the bark of an old elm tree, and you look much younger. Shameless. Everyone exchanged some pleasantries before boarding the flying spirit tool. Tianluo City was hundreds of thousands of miles away from Rising Sky City, and it would take at least 10 days to travel there. That was why Dean Gongsun and the others would board the same flying spirit tool. This was also to help each other out. After all, the superposition of the three forces would be even stronger. Yun Chuzhou was very tactful. After boarding the flying spirit tool, she tried to play nice for a while before returning to her room to avoid being disliked. The journey was very smooth and there were no accidents. 10 days later, the flying spirit tool arrived outside of the city of Rising Sky City. After Yun Chuzhou got off the flying spirit tool, she was really shocked by the majestic atmosphere of Rising Sky City. If Tianluo City was the size of a soybean, Rising Sky City could be called an apple. The city walls were tall, and the city gates were simple and sturdy. The words, Rising Sky City, written on the board made people feel as if they were soaring into the sky. Yun Chuzhou overturned her previous evaluation of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. It seemed that the Sky-Bearing Alliance was not just a show. Since they could build such a city, their strength could not be underestimated. The city gates of Rising Sky City were wide open. Although there were guards on duty, they would not check on pedestrians. This kind of situation showed that the Sky-Bearing Alliance was very confident in their strength. They believed that no one would dare to mess around in Rising Sky City. Beside the guards stood a middle-aged man dressed in Sky-Bearing Alliance attire. From the looks of it, he should be here to welcome the guests. As expected, when that person saw Yun Chuzhou and the others coming over, he greeted them with great hospitality. Mayor Huang, Dean Gongsun, Dean Situ, the three of you have come from afar. Thank you for your hard work. Yun Chuzhou, this fellow, was slightly unhappy in her heart. Could it be that she had not seen such a big living person? Even if you didn't know her, it was still considered polite to at least give her a nod. She was just being snobbish. Yun Chuzhou was good at reading people's expressions. She could tell that this person was not trying to please Dean Gongsun and Dean Situ. He was trying to please Mayor Huang. Mayor Huang didn't seem to buy it. He just replied indifferently and asked, Liao Wei, where are our accommodations arranged? Liao Wei didn't seem to notice Mayor Huang's indifference to him. He continued to say obsequiously, the three of you are arranged to stay in the Earth-class guest house. There will be people there to receive you. Mayor Huang nodded and then led everyone into the Rising Sky City. Liao Wei saw that Yun Chuzhou and the others had gone far away, so he took out a voice transmission talisman. Master, Huang Yichen has arrived. It was unknown what was said on the other side, but Liao Wei's gloomy and cold expression flashed across his face. Then, he continued to greet the guests with a smile on his face. Mayor Huang introduced the guests as he walked. Yun Chuzhou felt that her eyes were not enough. There was always someone better than her. There was always someone better. The prosperity of this rising sky city was simply beyond her imagination. However, it was also true. Just like how the eastern continent and the western continent were worlds apart, the area occupied by the super-aristocratic families and super-sects was naturally more prosperous than the area around Tianluo City. Even the spiritual energy was much denser. Yun Chujiu glanced around casually. There were many people on the streets that she couldn't see through. This meant that these people were at least at the spiritual void realm or above. When Dean Gongsun disembarked from the spaceship, he specially instructed Yun Chujiu, this rising sky city isn't like the Heaven Punisher Academy. When the time comes, you must not provoke any trouble. Your Yi family is high and mighty in our place. In Rising Sky City, you might not even be considered a second-rate force. Any random person on the streets might not be someone you can provoke. If you stir up trouble, I won't be able to protect your little life. Yun Chujiu immediately swore an oath that she would definitely be honest and would definitely not stir up trouble. Dean Gongsun nodded, but he was still worried. For some reason, he felt that his right eye was twitching non-stop. He had a feeling that the little girl in front of him would cause trouble. Therefore, although Dean Gongsun said this to Mayor Huang, he kept his eyes on Yun Chujiu, afraid that she would cause trouble. Yun Chujiu realized that Dean Gongsun was staring at her, and she could not help but be speechless. She might be a little out of line, but she would not cause trouble, right? Did this old man have to go so far? Although Yun Chujiu really wanted to take a good stroll, the three old men weren't interested in shopping. They walked through the streets and alleys and soon arrived at the guest quarters of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. The Libra Alliance occupied nearly one-third of the Rising Sky City's area. Just the guest quarters alone had hundreds of them and were divided into 4 areas: Heaven, Earth, Black, and Yellow. It was obvious that the guest quarters were divided into different levels. The heaven-shaped guest house was the best, followed by the earth-shaped guest house, followed by the black-shaped guest house. The yellow-shaped guest house was basically where the guests' guards lived. The Sky-Bearing Alliance's guest houses were all equipped with guards and maids. Therefore, guests were usually only allowed to bring 2 guards in. The rest of the guards would be arranged in the yellow-shaped guest house. Dean Gongsun and Dean Situ had been here a few times before, so they were very clear about the rules here. Mayor Huang was a local household, so he naturally knew everything. The 3 of them led Yun Chujiu to the gate of the house with ease, and a steward immediately came out to welcome them. After some small talk, the steward arranged for the maids to bring the 4 of them to their respective courtyards to settle down. Dean Gongsun was very thoughtful. He specially assigned 2 guards to Yun Chujiu to prevent her from being unfamiliar with the place and being restricted. It was obvious that Dean Gongsun had underestimated a certain Jiu's thick skin. Even if this fellow was thrown into hell, he would probably be a good friend of King Yama. How could he be restricted? Yun Chujiu followed the maid who led the way to a courtyard. Yun Chujiu did not show it on the surface, but she was once again unhappy in her heart. Although the courtyard she was in was also considered an earth room, it was obviously the worst among the earth rooms. Yun Chujiu had every reason to believe that this courtyard was not even comparable to the Xian room. As for why she thought that way, it was because the contrast was too obvious, okay? The courtyard on her left was an earth room, which was almost 3 times the size of her courtyard. The wall on her right was separated by the Xian room, and the courtyard was also twice the size of her courtyard. Although Yun Chujiu was a little unhappy, she thought about it and decided to forget it. If they were to really compete, her status was really not comparable to an earth room. Anyway, she would be going back after staying for a few days. 2 maids and 2 guards stood at the entrance of the courtyard. It seemed that there was nothing wrong with them. The maid who was leading the way said a few polite words and then left. Once the maid left, the attitude of the two maids and the two guards immediately changed. They were so arrogant that they wished they could grow eyes on their backs. The two guards behind Yunchujio frowned slightly. However, since their master did not say anything, they naturally would not say anything. Yunchujio tried to persuade herself. Little Jiu, the headmaster had said that she should not cause any trouble, so she had to endure it. Yunchujio tried to persuade herself for a while before looking at the four of them. Normally, the four of them should have gone up to Yunchujio at this time and reported their names. However, the four of them acted as if nothing had happened. Without waiting for Yunchujio to speak, they actually entered the courtyard and returned to their own rooms. Yunchujio's eyes darkened. She said to the two guards behind her, Xing Wen, Xing Wu, I don't think anyone is staying in the room next door. You can stay there for now. Don't worry. I won't let you suffer for nothing. The two guards quickly said that they didn't dare. Xing Wu said angrily, Miss Yun, these servants are really too much. Why don't you give the dean a voice transmission talisman and ask him to help you seek justice? Before Yunchujio left, not only did she ask Dean Gongsun for a voice transmission talisman, but she also asked Dean Duanmu and Mayor Huang for a voice transmission talisman. Hearing Xing Wu's words, Yunchujio shook her head and said, It's just a small matter. There's no need to trouble him. Don't provoke them. Well, go back after staying here for a few days. Xing Wen was more cautious. He glared at Xing Wu. Miss Yun is right. It's better to be safe than sorry since we're new here. Yunchujio nodded and let the two of them go to their rooms to rest. She then walked to the main room. The main room was divided into 3 rooms. There was a study room, a living room, and a bedroom. Although the two maids were arrogant, they were not stupid enough to occupy Yunchujio's main room. Yunchujio pushed open the bedroom door. The room was clean and tidy. It was probably cleaned all the time. Yunchujio went to the study and the living room to take a look, and they were also very clean. Yunchujio could not help but raise her eyebrows. It seemed that the two maids were not stupid. They would not leave any evidence on the surface. After all, whether they were respectful or not was a matter of subjective feelings. It would not be clear when the time came. Yunchujio washed up briefly and then sat on the bed to read the script. She did not dare to cultivate. If she made a breakthrough here, it would be terrible. Soon, it was lunchtime. One of the maids came back with lunch, but she did not give it to Yunchujio. Instead, the 4 of them gathered together and ate. Yunchujio was engrossed in reading the script until she was hungry. Only then did she realize that she had not eaten lunch. She walked out of the bedroom and happened to see the 4 servants sitting around the stone table eating lunch. The dishes on the stone table were very sumptuous. The 4 of them ate until the corners of their mouths were dripping with oil. Another serving girl, Ming Qiao, echoed, That's right. I don't know what the higher-ups are thinking, but they actually invited a trash like her over. The 6th level of the Ling Xian realm is simply too laughable. I heard that Yunchujio's mother was expelled from the Yi family. I don't know how they succeeded her. I heard that Yunchujio claimed to be the favored child of the Tian Dao. She deliberately created a few incidents. Those people over there haven't seen the world before, yet they take her seriously. What a joke. Shi Feng, one of the guards, sneered. Yunchujio has been arranged to stay in this courtyard. This means that her status isn't even comparable to the guests in the mysterious room. We should eat and drink. Speaking of which, the food provided to our guests is truly delicious, Shi Ling, the remaining guard, said as he ate. The 4 of them were chatting and laughing. Their voices were not low, and it was obvious that they did not care whether Yunchujio would hear them. Xing Wu was furious. Big brother, Miss Yun was a tyrant in Xingtian Academy. Why didn't she say anything when she was being bullied? Those 4 snobs actually ate Miss Yun's food, and they did not even help us get our food. Are they planning to starve us to death? Miss Yun told us not to cause trouble, so please calm down. Besides, don't we have dry rations? If you're hungry, just eat dry rations, Xing Wen said disapprovingly. Xing Wu scolded indignantly, damn it. I thought that we would be able to eat well here, but I didn't expect that we wouldn't even be able to get food. I think Miss Yun is just a hooligan, but she's already cowardly in this rising sky city. Xing Wen glared at him fiercely. What do you mean cowardly? You should keep your mouth shut about master's matters. Just stay here obediently. Xing Wu grumbled a few more words before he took out a steamed bun and chewed it bitterly. Yun Chujiu narrowed her eyes in the room. It seemed that these servants did not know the contents of the meeting. Speaking of which, the matter of the Divine Devil Hall was of great importance. Naturally, they would not leak the news casually. Although Yun Chujiu hated these 4 villains who flattered the higher ones and trampled on the lower ones, she was more concerned about who had arranged for her to be in this courtyard. The person who could arrange the courtyard should at least be a small steward. He must have someone in the upper echelons. What right did she have to offend the people of the Sky-bearing Alliance? Could it be a trick of the Fan family? She felt that it was unlikely. The Fan family did not need to resort to such a trick at such an important gathering. Yun Chujiu thought for a while but couldn't come up with any ideas, so she decided not to think about it. Anyway, if the person behind the scenes wanted to target her, he would reveal himself sooner or later. There was plenty of food in the storage ring. She ate a little and then took a nap. Dean Gongsun and the others were busy receiving guests. This was also the reason why they had arrived early. This was a rare opportunity to expand their social circle, so they naturally wouldn't let it go. Yun Chujiu naturally wouldn't be insensible and cause trouble. For 2 days in a row, she filled the room with mushrooms. When the 4 servants saw that Yun Chujiu was weak and easy to bully, they became even more unscrupulous. Not only did they eat Yun Chujiu's meals, they didn't even help prepare the tea and water for washing up. Not to mention Xing Wu, even Xing Wen could not stand it. Why did this Yun Chujiu suddenly seem like a different person? Was she really going to swallow her pride? After breakfast on the 3rd day, Yun Chujiu sent a voice transmission talisman to Old Master Yi out of courtesy to ask if he had arrived. She wanted to go over and pay her respects. Although Yun Chujiu and Old Master Yi had developed a grudge after the matter between Yi Xinwan and her mother, Yun Chujiu naturally would not let others find fault with what she was supposed to do on the surface. Old Master Yi replied that he had already checked into room number 80, indicating that Yun Chujiu could go over and pay her respects. Yun Chujiu tidied up briefly and left the bedroom. She said to the 4 people who were eating snacks and chatting in the courtyard, I want to go to room number 80 to pay my respects to my great-grandfather. Which one of you will accompany me? Mingyue threw the melon seeds in her hand onto the plate. How troublesome. Just stay here. What are you going out for? Let's go. Yun Chujiu's expression was as usual, as if she did not see or hear Mingyue's disrespect. She did not bring Xing Wen and Xing Wu either. She only brought Mingyue out of the courtyard. After leaving the courtyard, Mingyue's expression became a little more restrained. She was probably afraid that others would see her. However, she led the way at a very fast pace. She wanted Yun Chujiu to make a fool of herself. She felt that Yun Chujiu's spiritual power was only at the 6th level of the Lingxian realm, and she was already at the 8th level of the Lingxian realm. If Yun Chujiu could not keep up with her pace, she could only jog. It would be so embarrassing. Unexpectedly, even though she was already walking very fast, Yun Chujiu still walked unhurriedly on her right side. Moreover, her expression was normal, and she did not seem to be panting at all. Mingyue was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but she did not dare to say anything outside. Because Mingyue was leading the way, the two of them quickly arrived at room number 80. The servant in room number 80 respectfully invited Yun Chujio in and then let her into the study room. Yun Chujio could not help but mock herself in her heart. Look, the servants here were the normal servants. The four people in her courtyard were simply the masters. Therefore, strength was the most important principle. She had to improve her strength as soon as possible. Yun Chujio entered the study and bowed respectfully to old Master Yi. Sit. Previously, you didn't explain too clearly in the voice transmission talisman. What exactly is going on with the Divine Devil Hall? Yun Chujio had briefly told old Master Yi about the matter of the Tianluo mystic realm before. After all, old Master Yi was the big tree that she had her back now, so she had to report what needed to be reported. Yun Chujio told great-grandfather Yi in detail about the matters of the Divine Devil Hall. Of course, some things that should not be said had been processed by this fellow. Great-grandfather Yi's expression turned grave after listening to her. No wonder even the Primordial Chaos sect and the Murderous Origins sect had participated in this meeting. The matters of the Divine Devil Hall concerned the life and death of the immortal Yuan continent, so they could not be careless. Great-grandfather Yi glanced at Yun Chujio who was munching on snacks. This great-granddaughter of his could always be associated with some strange things. He did not know whether she would soar to the sky or fall to the dust in the future. Yun Chujio cursed Mingyue and the others in her heart as she ate the pastries. Damn it, she did not expect the pastries in this guest house to be so delicious. From this, she deduced that the taste of the food must be even better. They had all eaten them. Little bitches, just you wait. Great-grandfather Yi saw the expression on Yun Chujio's face and thought that she did not like the taste of the pastries. He frowned and said, "Little Jiu, if the pastries do not taste good, don't eat them. Why force yourself? I quite like the pastries. It's just that when I think about the matters of the Divine Devil Hall, I'm a little annoyed. The matters of the Divine Devil Hall will naturally be handled by adults like us. You can just focus on cultivating. After this gathering ends, you must cultivate properly when you go back. Otherwise, the Divine Devil Hall will find trouble with you," old Master Yi said solemnly. Yun Chujio nodded, indicating that she would definitely cultivate properly and improve every day. Old Master Yi reminded her a few more times and picked up the teacup. The meaning was obvious. It was time for Yun Chujio to leave. What old Master Yi did not expect was that his hand holding the teacup was sore. Yun Chujio acted as if she did not understand what he meant by serving tea to send her off. She continued to sit there and munch on pastries. Cough cough. Little Jiu, since there's nothing else, you can go back first. Old Master Yi was really at a loss and could only chase her away. Great-grandfather, it's been a long time since I've accompanied you for dinner. It's almost time for lunch, so I'll just stay here and eat with you. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Great-grandfather Yi looked at Yun Chujio speechlessly. He had just had breakfast, all right. It was still far from lunchtime. Seeing that a certain Jiu was staying here, great-grandfather Yi could only say to her, since that's the case, you can read here by yourself. I'll go meditate and cultivate. All right. I'll call you over when we're having lunch. Yun Chujio's reply was crisp and clear. The corners of great-grandfather Yi's eyes twitched. What was wrong with this little girl? Great-grandfather Yi shook his head helplessly and went back to his bedroom to meditate. Yun Chujio crossed her legs and took out her phone book to read. The reason why this fellow did not leave was obvious. Of course, it was to freeload lunch. She did not want to deal with Mingyue and the other three right now, so she could only freeload lunch here. This fellow counted with his fingers and finally endured until noon. Seeing that the maid had brought lunch, this fellow could not wait to invite old Master Yi to the living room. Yun Chujio looked at the sumptuous food on the table and almost drooled. Old Master Yi glanced at her and coughed. "Little Jiu, behave yourself outside. A girl should behave like a girl." Yun Chujio said cheekily, "There are no outsiders here. You are my closest and dearest person." When great-grandfather Yi heard Yun Chujio say this, the little grudge in his heart disappeared a little. He scolded Yun Chujio jokingly and helped her to pick up a few pieces of meat. "You little gluttonous cat, eat." Yun Chujio was stunned. Yun Xiaotian often said this to her. When she thought of Yun Xiaotian, her eyes turned red and tears almost fell. Old Master Yi misunderstood. He thought that Yun Chujio was touched, but in his heart, he couldn't bear it. She was just a child, but he was a little heartless. Forget it. As long as she didn't cause trouble again, he could help her find a good family in the future. With the protection of the Yi family, she would have something to rely on in the future. Yun Chujio calmed her emotions and picked up the meat in the bowl and put it into her mouth. Unexpectedly, before she could chew, a suction force came from her dantian, and the meat was absorbed by the guai chow. Yun Chujio could not help but be shocked. Could it be that the meat was poisonous? Yun Chujio quickly used her spiritual sense to ask about the guai chow. The leaves of the guai chow swayed non-stop, obviously very excited. It was really poisonous. Yun Chujio picked up a few more dishes without batting an eyelid. They were all poisonous, except for the spiritual rice. Yun Chujio did not tell old Master Yi that there was poison in the dishes. Firstly, she could not explain how she found out that there was poison in the dishes. Secondly, this poison probably did not only exist in this meal. It was too late to say it now. Thirdly, she did not want to alert the enemy. Old Master Yi's status here could only be considered second-rate. His words did not carry much weight. If he claimed that the dishes were poisonous, he might be blamed by others. It was better to take a look first. Anyway, this medicine seemed to be slow-acting, and it would not kill anyone in a short while. Yun Chujio thought of Mingyue and the other three, and she could not help but laugh in her heart. It was really retribution. If those four knew that the food was poisonous, their intestines would probably turn green with regret, right? After Yun Chujio had a free meal, she said her goodbyes slowly and left old Master Yi's guest house. On the way back, Mingyu's expression was very ugly. Clearly, she was complaining that Yun Chujio had stayed too long. Yun Chujio thought to herself, "Jump around. Seeing that you willingly took the poison, I won't teach you a lesson for now." After the two of them returned to the guest house, Mingyue grumbled quite a bit, almost pointing at Yun Chujio's nose and cursing. Yun Chujio acted as if she didn't hear anything and slowly entered the bedroom. Yun Chujio spent a lot of effort to communicate with Guai Chao before she understood. The poison in the vegetables only had one effect, and that was to make one's spiritual power disappear. This poison was very strange. It hid for a very long time, and it would take at least 7 days for it to take effect. Moreover, once it took effect, the lost spiritual power would not be able to be recovered. Yun Chujio counted with her fingers. Even if they were the first batch to arrive, they would still leave the Rising Sky City 7 days later. Could it be that they wanted to make a move on the way? Was this matter the work of the Sky-Bearing Alliance or the Divine Devil Hall? No matter which faction did it, this plan was really successful. The people who came this time were all the leaders of the Immortal Essence continent. As long as these people were killed, all the major factions would be greatly weakened. The mastermind would naturally be more than happy. Yun Chujio wasted a lot of effort to ask about the formula of the Guai Chao's antidote. She never expected that although this poison was insidious, the antidote was very out of Yun Chujio's expectations. The antidote was simple, but it was also not simple. The antidote to this poison did not need to be refined. It only needed the juice of the coral fruit to detoxify the poison. However, there was a problem. The coral fruit was only a level 1 spirit fruit. Only low-level continents could grow it. In a high-level continent like the immortal Yuan continent, even if one scraped the land 3 times, there would not be such a low-level spirit fruit. Yun Chujio silently glanced at her storage ring. She remembered that she had stored a lot of coral fruits in her storage ring. Later, Di Baiming gave her a lot of delicious spiritual fruits. She despised the coral fruits because they weren't delicious. Therefore, those coral fruits were still there. Moreover, even if she didn't have them in her storage ring, there were plenty in the Great Void Mirror. She could have as many as she wanted. Yun Chujio burst into laughter as she thought about it. She sympathized with the mastermind. If she hadn't come, his plan would have been successful without a hitch. Unfortunately, this bad thing of hers had come. She was also helpless. Why was she always forced to be the one to turn the tables? She just wanted to be a quiet foodie. This fellow rolled his eyes. This time was different from the trials within the Xingtian Academy. It wasn't a good thing to be in the limelight too much. It was best to do it quietly like a spring breeze. Sometimes, it wasn't a good thing to shine too brightly. It was better to keep a low profile. Yun Chujio rested her chin on her hand and thought for a while. After she felt that her plan was foolproof, she continued to flip through the storybook. The next day, it was finally the day of the gathering. Everyone left the guest house and headed to the meeting hall of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. Yun Chujio naturally followed Dean Gongsun. Dean Gongsun once again instructed her to be careful with her words and actions when she arrived at the meeting hall and not to act rashly. Old Master Yi also specially came over and instructed her once. He was afraid that Yun Chujio would cause trouble and implicate the Yi family as well. It was rare for Yun Chujio to reflect on herself. Was she really that unreliable? Why did everyone think that she would cause trouble? She was clearly your savior, all right? The meeting hall of the Sky-Bearing Alliance was comparable to a small square. It could accommodate thousands of people without any problem. The meeting hall was decorated with a grand atmosphere. Everyone sat down according to the arranged seats. A certain Jiu also got a seat at the front. After being ignored for a few days, she finally tasted the taste of preferential treatment. Yun Chujio moved her chair back slightly so that she could peek around openly. Anyway, there were people on both sides blocking her view. She found that the seats at the back were already full. Only the few seats in the front row were empty. It was understandable. After all, the big shots were the last to appear. After a while, a few elders walked in while chatting and laughing. Yun Chujio realized that she didn't recognize any of them, but there was one who looked somewhat similar to Fan Mingchuan. He was probably the head of the Fan family. When the crowd saw the few old men, they all stood up to greet them. After the few old men took their seats, another 3 old men came in. Yun Chujio knew that these 3 were most likely the sect master of the Hunyuan sect, the sect master of the Shi Yuan sect, and the alliance master of the Sky-Bearing Alliance. Sure enough, 2 of the old men sat on the chairs on both sides, while the other old man stood at the front without taking a seat. On behalf of the Sky-Bearing Alliance, I, Yen, welcome all of you. I'm sure all of you know the theme of our meeting this time. A few days ago, the students of the Xingtian Academy and the Wa Stone Academy were attacked by monsters during the trial in the Tianluo Mystic Realm, resulting in heavy casualties. According to the surviving students, this matter involved a faction that they had never heard of before, the Divine Devil Hall. Yen felt that this matter was of great importance, so he had invited everyone over to discuss this matter together. I've specially invited the student who was involved to come over and have her tell everyone the details of the matter. After saying this, Alliance Master Yen of the Sky-Bearing Alliance turned to look at Yun Chujio, who was standing beside Dean Gongsun. Although Alliance Master Yen did not know Yun Chujio, those who participated in the meeting were all old men. The youngest was also a middle-aged man. There was only such a little girl, so it should be that Yun Chujio. Everyone's eyes were focused on Yun Chujio. Dean Gongsun and Old Master Yi were both a little worried. This little girl was usually very sharp-tongued. Would she have stage fright in such a big scene? They were clearly thinking too much. The more people there were, the more Yun Chujio could show off. She could have just stood in front of her seat, but this girl just had to walk to the middle of the meeting hall. She first bowed to everyone, then said in a crisp voice, "This junior is Yun Chujio of the Yi family. Let me briefly explain what happened, then we will talk about the Divine Devil Hall in the Qing Xian continent and the Tian Yuan continent." At that time, after we entered the Tian Luo mystic realm, Yun Chujio's story was vivid, and the crowd could not help but exclaim as if they were there themselves. When they heard the last part, when Yun Chujio said that a pair of big hands tore through the void and took Su Yen ran away, some people stood up in surprise. Tear through the void? Wasn't that a legendary divine ability? How was that possible? Little girl, you sure have a sharp tongue. Your story is very vivid. However, exaggerating isn't a good habit. Do you know that it doesn't matter if you lie, but your words will cause the entire Immortal Essence continent to be in turmoil? Do you know your mistake? The old man who looked similar to Fan Mingchuan said unhappily. While the old man berated, he actually used his pressure on Yun Chujio. Although he didn't use his full strength, the pressure he released was enough to make a person with spirit void cultivation kneel down. Old Master Yi frowned. He felt that the Fan family head was truly a little too much. Even if you felt that the little ninth girl's words were a little exaggerated, you could just blame her. Why was there a need to release pressure? Old Master Yi felt that this matter was inextricably linked to Fan Sushua, but even if he was dissatisfied in his heart, he did not dare to say anything. After all, the Yi family and the Fan family were not on the same level at all. Although some people present also felt that what the head of the Fan family did was somewhat inappropriate, no one was willing to offend the head of the Fan family because of a little girl they did not know. Moreover, if that Yun Chujio could not withstand the pressure, she would just kneel down. It was not a big deal for a well-known junior like her to kneel down to the head of the Fan family. When everyone thought that Yun Chujio would be forced to kneel down by the head of the Fan family, they saw that although fine beads of sweat were oozing out from the forehead of that little girl, she still stood straight and said in a clear voice, "Senior, although this junior's spiritual power is low, I also know the principle of prudence. Everything I said just now is true. If any of those words are a lie, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Moreover, it is very easy to verify my words. Send a few people to the Tian Yuan continent to investigate and find out if I am lying. So, would I be so stupid as to fabricate such a lie?" The meeting hall was silent. Everyone was stunned by Yun Chujio's performance. Firstly, they were surprised that she actually gritted her teeth and endured the pressure of the Fan family head. This little girl was really stubborn and proud. Secondly, although she said these words to answer the Fan family head's question, the word "stupid" in the end was like a reflection of the Fan family head. This little girl was really too bold. Wasn't she afraid that the Fan family's patriarch would blame her in a fit of rage? The Fan family's patriarch's expression was very gloomy as he snorted coldly. He increased his pressure once again. "Little girl, what you said is easy. Putting aside the fact that heading to the Tian Yuan continent's enchantment has a certain level of risk, just this trip alone will take about half a year's time. According to what you just said, there was once a giant hand that tore through the void and saved the people from the divine devil temple. It's impossible. Because only God can tear through the void, and God is already a legendary existence. How could there be a God? Beads of sweat dripped down Yunchujia's forehead, however, her back was still straight. Senior, I'm young and inexperienced. I don't know if God exists. I only know that what I said is the truth. Besides, no matter what I do, there is always a motive. Why would I make up such a lie? What good would it do me? Is it for my reputation? I saved the students of the Xingtian Academy. My reputation is enough. Moreover, the matters of the Divine Devil Hall are confidential. I can't go around the continent and claim that I've met the people of the Divine Devil Hall before. As for the benefits, there was no way to talk about it. To put it bluntly, I had ruined the Divine Devil Hall's good deed this time. They wanted nothing more than to kill me to vent their hatred. If it wasn't for the safety of the immortal Yuan continent, would I have foolishly stood up and told them the truth? In the Tianluo secret realm, I didn't abandon my classmates. After leaving the secret realm, I didn't care about my own safety to hide the truth. Although I, Yun Chujio, am not a great hero, I can at least have a clear conscience. Senior, you are a highly respected person. I am just an unknown little girl. I have explained everything that I can. If you still do not believe me, then I have no choice. The beads of sweat on his forehead were obviously forced out by his spiritual power. This guy was not even afraid of the pressure of the heavenly thunder. How could he be afraid of the pressure of the head of the Fan family? After Yun Chujio finished her powerful words, her eyes turned red. She bit her lips tightly, looking wronged but stubborn. Everyone had a scale in their hearts. After hearing Yun Chujio's words, they could not help but look at the head of the Fan family with disapproval. The little girl was right. She was not full of herself. Why would she make up such a lie for no reason? Besides, if she were to lie, she only needed to send a team of people to the Tian Yuan continent to investigate and they would be able to expose her lie. Would she be that stupid? The head of a super family actually made things difficult for a junior. This was really too much. Fan Jinqing, you, an old man who is half buried, bullying a little girl, isn't that a little too disloyal? The little girl was right. It's not like she was full of herself and made up such a lie. An old man with white hair and beard curled his lips and said. Chao Menghai, shut up. You still haven't settled the debt of stealing our Fan family's spirit stone mine. What right do you, a thief, have to talk to me? The head of the Fan family immediately pointed the spearhead at the old man. What a joke. What does your Fan family have to do with me losing the spirit stone mine? Don't tell me that your Fan family is going to be the scapegoat for just lying and complaining about losing something. You are twisting the facts. The miners of our Fan family have all gone to your Chao family. If you didn't steal the spirit stone mine, then who did? A certain Jiu, who was wiping her tears with a handkerchief, secretly said in her heart, I stole it. If you have the ability, come and bite me. No wonder Fan Mingchuan and Fan Sushue were like that. It turned out that the upper beam was not upright while the lower beam was crooked. This old thing was also not a good thing. Just as the head of the Fan family and the head of the Chao family were quarreling with each other, the old man who was sitting on the chair to the left placed the teacup in his hand on the table heavily and coughed. The head of the Fan family and the head of the Chao family immediately stopped fighting. They glared at each other and did not say anything else. Yun Chujio thought to herself, looks like the strength of the Han Yuan sect and the Shi Yuan sect are much stronger than the super families. Otherwise, the head of the Fan family and the head of the Chao family would not be so obedient like rats seeing a cat. Alliance Master Yen of the Sky Bearing Alliance seemed to have fallen asleep just now. It was only now that he laughed and said, "The head of the Fan family is also doing this to be cautious. Little girl, don't take it to heart." Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. What a wily old fox. But on the surface, she said respectfully, "This junior understands that Senior Fan is a highly respected senior. Not to mention just saying a few words to me, even if you beat me up, I wouldn't have any complaints." The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. This little girl really knew how to talk. Saying this made the Fan family's patriarch seem a little petty. Alliance Master Yen coughed dryly twice. "Little girl, regarding the Divine Devil Hall, do you have anything else you need to add? That Divine Devil Hall has a kind of strange medicinal pill. After a person consumes it, their cultivation speed will be much faster. They also use this kind of medicinal pill to rope in people to work for them. Other than that, I've also seen them use secret techniques. I've seen a total of 2 types. One is that after forming a seal, the image of a resurrection lily will appear, and then the resurrection lily will turn into countless poisonous arrows. The other is that after forming a seal, the person would disappear on the spot." After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she also demonstrated the hand gestures of the 2 secret techniques. Everyone was in an uproar again. Although the medicinal pills of the Divine Devil Hall sounded quite magical, they probably had side effects. What shocked them was that the second secret technique could actually make people disappear on the spot. Wouldn't that be teleportation? The Fan family's patriarch's face was gloomy. He felt that Yun Chujio was exaggerating. Perhaps there really was such a Divine Devil Hall, but it was definitely not as powerful as she had described. However, he did not rebuke Yun Chujio again. After all, there were so many people present. If he were to speak again, it would appear that he was bullying the weak. Alliance Master Yen waited until the crowd's discussion had quieted down before he said, "Regarding the Divine Devil Hall's matter, what do you all think about it? Do you have any countermeasures and suggestions?" Although everyone was discussing intensely just now, they all knew that this order of speaking was not to be messed with. All of them turned their gazes towards the 2 sect masters of the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect. Master Xiaohu of the Killing Origin sect and Master Bailey of the Chaos Origin sect did not say anything. Instead, they picked up their teacups and drank their tea. Everyone present knew that these 2 people were not on good terms with each other. They probably wanted to speak first. However, they did not want to show it due to their pride, so this difficult problem was left to Alliance Master Yen. Everyone's gaze turned to Alliance Master Yen, wanting to see how he would resolve this difficult problem. "Yun Chujio, you are the person involved, and you have dealt with the people from the Divine Devil Hall several times. What do you think?" Alliance Master Yen changed the topic very cunningly. Yun Chujio had just sat down and was about to watch the show, but she did not expect to be called out again. She could only stand up again, her face revealing an awkward expression. "Alliance Master Yen, you are flattering me too much. I am just a small shrimp, how can I have any opinions? How about this, I will explain some of the practices of the Qingxian continent and the Tianyuan continent to see if there is any value in using them for reference." Those 2 continents had discovered the traces of the Divine Devil Hall by chance, and then followed the clues to find some hidden clues. However, because the Divine Devil Hall was in the dark, there was not a good way to completely eradicate their forces. Their method is to first investigate themselves, and then widely publicize the harm of the Divine Devil Hall. Everyone knows the sinister intentions of the Divine Devil Hall, so naturally, the Divine Devil Hall would not have the soil to develop their forces. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she returned to her seat with some embarrassment. This fellow cursed Alliance Master Yen in his heart. "You've thrown the blame away, but you've pushed me out to take the blame. Shameless." When everyone heard Yun Chujio's words, they felt that this method was not bad. If the people of the immortal Yuan continent could consciously resist the Divine Devil Temple, then it would be very difficult for the Divine Devil Temple to continue expanding its power. Since the Divine Devil Hall did not dare to appear in public, it must have not fully developed yet. Once there was no soil for development, it would be very difficult for it to stir up big waves. Alliance Master Yen cupped his hands at Master Bailey of the Primordial Chaos Sect and Master Xiaoho of the Shi Yuan Sect. What do the two sect masters think of Yun Chujia's suggestion? Alliance Master Yan's words were very skillful. He was talking about the two sect masters. There was no order, so he would not be found out. The old man on the left-hand chair took the lead and said, "This method is also feasible. Everyone go back and check it out first. If there are people who act abnormally, pay attention to them. In addition, Alliance Master Yen can have your Sky-Bearing Alliance put up notices in every city in the immortal Yuan continent, informing everyone of the dangers and sinister intentions of the Divine Devil Hall." The old man on the right-hand chair frowned slightly, obviously not satisfied with the old man on the left speaking first. Chief Yen nodded. What Master Xiaoho said makes sense. Master Bailey, do you have any suggestions? The old man on the right, Master Bailey of the Primordial Chaos Sect, said calmly, "I agree with Master Xiaoho's suggestion. Since we can't find any traces of the Divine Devil Hall for the time being, it's feasible to prevent it before it happens." Chief Yen then asked for the opinions of the others. Since the two big shots had already made the final decision, what could they say? They could only express that the two big shots were wise and that what the two big shots said was right and so on. Everyone originally thought that this meeting would be held for a very long time. After all, this was a major event. Who would have thought that it would be completed in less than an hour? After everyone's flattering words were finished, the atmosphere in the meeting hall became slightly awkward. Alliance Master Yen was also very helpless. If he were to extrapolate based on past experience, the meeting would need at least 4 hours before the lunch banquet would naturally begin. But now, it was actually finished in such a short time. He couldn't possibly eat lunch right after breakfast, right? Why not let everyone return to the guest house first? It didn't seem too good. What should he do? He couldn't just sit there like a fool, right? Just as Alliance Master Yen was in a dilemma, he caught a glimpse of Yun Chujio eating the sweet pastries like a little squirrel. Actually, there were tea and pastries on the table next to each guest, but everyone only drank tea at most. No one would really eat pastries. A certain Jiu, on the other hand, was eating very sweetly. Dean Gongsun, who was sitting next to her, glared at her a few times, but this fellow acted as if he didn't see her. This fellow naturally had her considerations in mind. Her performance just now was too outstanding. She had to let others discover her flaws, otherwise it would attract too much attention. Yun Chujio, what you said before was relatively simple. Take this time to describe in detail what happened in the Divine Devil Hall. Alliance Master Yen said with a smile. Yun Chujio almost choked to death on the pastries. Why was Alliance Master Yen so fixated on her? The fellow could only wipe his mouth with a handkerchief and said a few words modestly. Then, he began to ramble on about the Divine Devil Hall. In any case, she had dealt with the Divine Devil Hall many times. She could talk for half a day just by randomly picking a few times. Of course, some things that could not be said, she avoided the main point and only briefly mentioned them. Anyway, this fellow was good at lying, so he was not afraid of being found out. As Yun Chujia's speech was vivid, and these people had never been to the Qing Xian continent and the Tian Yuan continent, they heard it with great interest. Midway, someone asked a few questions, and the crowd discussed a few more words. Finally, it was lunchtime. Everyone, I have prepared a banquet. Please move to the banquet hall next door. Alliance Master Yen heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, there was this little girl, otherwise, it would be a bit troublesome. Everyone arrived at the banquet hall next door. The banquet hall was also very spacious. Everyone followed the directions of the maids and took their seats. The servants quickly sent over a sumptuous banquet. Alliance Master Yen said a few words of courtesy before the banquet began. At the beginning, everyone was still a little restrained. However, after a few cups of spirit wine entered their stomachs, they all let go and toasted with each other. It was very lively. Yun Chujio naturally buried her head in the food and ate bitterly. As she ate, she felt that it was a pity. These dishes were all poisonous. It seemed that she couldn't bring them back to Brother Wuji and Jin Ji. Everyone began to take turns toasting. The atmosphere in the banquet hall reached its peak. Yun Chujio was almost done eating. Only then did she start to size up the crowd. She was ready to see if there was anyone who was behaving abnormally. Perhaps she could find out who was the one who poisoned them. Unfortunately, after looking around, she did not find anyone suspicious. Yun Chujio felt that it was time for the savior of bad news to appear. This fellow took out a handkerchief to wipe his mouth, and then stood up. Dean Gongsun and the others were at the same table as her. When they saw this fellow stand up, they were all shocked. This little girl didn't want to toast again, so why did she stand up? Especially when old Master Ye's heart was in his throat. Little Jiu, what are you going to do this time? Before old Master Yi could stop her, he discovered that his great-granddaughter had already jumped to the first table, which was the table where Master Bailey, Master Xiaoho, and Alliance Master Yen were at. Alliance Master Yen and the other two had special identities, so there were only the three of them at this table. The three of them were also stunned when they saw Yun Chujio. What was this little girl doing here? Could it be that she wanted to propose a toast? But she didn't have a wine cup in her hands either. For a moment, the banquet hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone's gaze turned towards Yun Chujio. Old Master Ye's old heart almost stopped from fright. What exactly did this little Jiu want to do? Seniors, this junior is very honored to be able to meet all of you this time. I originally wanted to come over to propose a toast, but I don't know how to drink wine. Using tea as a substitute for wine also felt insincere. So, this is just a small token of my appreciation, please accept it. The three of them looked at Yun Chujio in confusion, only to see Yun Chujio take out 3 oil paper packets from her storage ring, and then respectfully handed them to Alliance Master Yen and the other two. The three of them curiously opened the oil paper packets, and saw that inside were some small fruits that looked like coral beads. Although they looked very pleasing, they almost didn't have any spirit energy. This wild fruit is called coral fruit. It is a kind of wild fruit from the Qin continent. It should be considered the lowest grade of spiritual fruit. Seniors, I know that you usually eat high-grade spiritual fruits, so you might not like this kind of small wild fruit. However, I gave this kind of fruit for a reason. Back then, I did not have spiritual power and could not cultivate. It was only after I ate this kind of fruit that I was able to slowly cultivate. I always felt that this fruit brought me good luck. This was a kind of lucky fruit. Therefore, even though it didn't taste particularly good, I had stored a lot of it in my storage ring. I felt that if this was the case, luck would be able to look after me forever. Therefore, I plan to give this coral fruit to all the seniors. I hope that everyone will always be lucky. Yun Chujio's face became redder and redder as she spoke. It was obvious that she was very embarrassed. In the end, she didn't dare to look at Alliance Master Yen and the other two. Alliance Master Yen probably felt that Yun Chujio had taken the blame for him twice today, so he smiled and said, "You little girl, you really have a pure and kind heart. I haven't eaten wild fruits for many years. It's not bad to try it today. It can also be considered to be a bittersweet memory. As Alliance Master Yen spoke, he picked up a few coral fruits and put them into his mouth. Although they were not considered delicious, the sour and sweet ones were not bad. Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou also ate a few of them symbolically. Although they did not praise Yunchujio, their faces were still fine. It was clear that they had a good impression of Yunchujio. Yunchujio's small face was flushed with excitement. She said incoherently, I am really too excited. I thought that the 3 seniors were unattainable. I did not expect that they actually ate my lucky fruit. Then can you help me sign an autograph as a motivation to motivate me to move forward? Alliance Master Yen couldn't help but laugh. He casually took out a jade pendant and said, there's no need for an autograph. I'll give this Misty Cloud jade pendant to you as a reward. Cultivate well. A certain Zhou's heart was filled with joy. She had been waiting for this sentence. Yunchujio decided to cross out Alliance Master Yen from the black account book. This was really a godly assistance. How could she eat these coral fruits for free? She had to pay some shipping fees, okay. A certain Zhou's heart was bursting with joy, but her face was flushed red as she declined, this isn't good, right? It makes it seem like I'm not giving out fruits. Instead, I'm selling fruits. An elder's gift cannot be refused. This and fruits are 2 different things. Seeing Yunchujio like this, Alliance Master Yen felt that although this little girl was eloquent, but her heart was really kind and not greedy. Yunchujio had no choice but to put away the jade pendant awkwardly, and she looked very embarrassed. When Sect Master Bailey and Sect Master Xiaohou saw that Alliance Master Yen had given her something, they naturally couldn't just stand by and watch, so they also gave Yunchujio an upper-grade spirit weapon. Yunchujio's face was filled with gratitude, but in her heart, she ridiculed, damn it. As the 2 sect masters of a super sect, was it really good to be so stingy? Shouldn't he at least reward her with an immortal artifact? This fellow didn't even think about it. Her oil-wrapped coral fruit was only worth a few low-grade spirit stones at most, and she even thought of exchanging it for an immortal artifact. Seniors, please eat a few more coral fruits. Otherwise, I really can't bear it in my heart. Alliance Master Yen and the other 2 gave her some face and ate a few more. Yunchujio felt that it was enough to detoxify the poison, so she respectfully took her leave. Then, this guy walked to another table and repeated the same process. No, he gave her a fruit. Those people saw that the 3 big shots were giving this little girl face, so they naturally couldn't refuse. They took a few pills as a token, and then gave her a spirit weapon. Even the head of the Fan family also gave Yunchujio a high-grade spirit weapon with a gloomy face. Although he didn't like Yunchujio, it wasn't good for him to go against the 3 big shots. Yunchujio cursed in her heart. Go back and be secretly happy. If it wasn't for me, you'd be waiting to be dealt with by others. Dean Gongsun and Old Master Yes' faces were stiff. They saw Yunchujio shuttling around the banquet hall like a butterfly, then used some broken wild fruits to exchange for a large pile of high-grade spirit weapons. Old Master Yi knew Yunchujio's background and cursed in his heart. This little brat. It must be intentional. To be greedy to this extent, he really wanted money but didn't want his life. However, he couldn't help but admire this great-granddaughter of his. With her flawless tongue, she actually used a few broken wild fruits to exchange for a pile of high-grade spirit tools. It was also amazing. Everyone gave Yunchujio high-grade spirit tools. After all, they were all reputable people. If they gave her too poorly, they would feel bad. Thus, this guy had used a few baskets of coral fruits to exchange for a bunch of high-grade spirit tools. It was simply beautiful. Fortunately, this guy knew that a rabbit wouldn't eat grass near its nest, so he didn't ask Dean Gongsun and the others for spirit tools. Yun Chujiu knew that the guards of these people were probably also affected, but she was helpless. If she said anything more, it would be too easy to expose herself. In any case, these mighty figures were fine, so the other party's conspiracy could not succeed. As for the guards, they could only blame themselves for being too careless and admit that they were unlucky. When Yun Chujiu sent the coral fruit, she deliberately observed everyone's reaction and did not find anything wrong. There were two possibilities. One was that there were indeed no people from the Divine Devil Hall. The second was that the people from the Divine Devil Hall did not know that the coral fruit was the antidote to the poison. After all, an ordinary antidote could only be refined. Yun Chujiu felt that the second possibility was more likely. After all, the Guai Chao was too abnormal. It could find the antidote to many poisons that were thought to have no antidote. This was also good. When the time came, the Divine Devil Hall would not suspect her. They would only think that there was a mistake in the poisoning. After 3 drinks and 5 dishes, Master Bailey and Master Xiaoho stood up to bid their farewells. Everyone also took the opportunity to bid their farewells. Alliance Master Yan either personally sent them off or let the people from the Sky-Bearing Alliance send them off. Very quickly, the banquet hall became empty. Dean Gongsun and the others did not leave. After all, they were the source of the matter. No matter what, they had to exchange a few words with Alliance Master Yen before they could leave. Alliance Master Yen sent the guests back to the banquet hall. He smiled and exchanged a few more words. Then, he said to Yun Chujiu, "Little girl, if you have time in the future, you are welcome to visit the Sky-Bearing Alliance often." Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu exchanged a look. This little girl had caught Alliance Master Yan's eye. Yun Chujiu said with a smile, "Thank you, Alliance Master Yen. I will definitely visit you often in the future. However, next time, just let me stay in the yellow room." What they said makes sense. My identity is indeed not qualified to stay in the black room. Them? Who said anything? Alliance Master Yen frowned. Yun Chujiu covered her mouth and looked as if she had let the cat out of the bag. She said hurriedly, I was talking nonsense. I thought it myself. Mingyue and the others didn't say anything. A faint light flashed in Alliance Master Yan's eyes, and he didn't ask any more questions. A certain Jiu of the White Lotus went online and immediately dug up the 4 servants completely. Sometimes, there was no need to say things too thoroughly. A person like Alliance Master Yen would naturally be able to find out the truth. At this moment, a maid carried a very big food box and walked in. Alliance Master Yen smiled and said, "Little girl, I saw that you really liked the pastries of our Sky-Bearing Alliance. You can take these back and eat them." Yun Chujiu was really a little surprised. She really didn't expect Alliance Master Yen to give her pastries. After this guy took the pastries, his heart struggled for a while. He said, "Thank you, Alliance Master Yen. I don't have anything good. I'll give these baskets of coral fruits to you. You can give them to your subordinates and let them have a taste. Maybe it will really bring them luck. After all, back then, I could turn into spiritual power even without spiritual power. It's really amazing." Alliance Master Yen smiled as he took the basket. After exchanging a few more pleasantries, Yun Chujiu and the rest took their leave. Alliance Master Yen did not take Yun Chujiu's words to heart. However, he felt that it was not bad to let his subordinates have a taste of the fruits. Hence, he only kept 1 basket and gave most of it to his subordinates. Alliance Master Yen did not know that it was because of these few baskets of coral fruits that the sky-bearing alliance was able to avoid the fate of being wiped out a few days later. Yun Chujio sighed emotionally as she walked out. She was still too soft-hearted. There was definitely a spy from the Divine Devil Hall in the sky-bearing alliance. If she had not given Alliance Master Yen those few baskets of coral fruits just now, the sky-bearing alliance might have suffered a heavy blow by then. Yun Chujio noticed that Mayor Huang did not look too well and seemed to have something on his mind. However, she was not familiar with him, so she could not be bothered to ask. What she was concerned about now was what method the Divine Devil Hall would use to attack them 3 days later. Great-grandfather Yi had originally planned to leave with the Lu family, but he was dragged onto their flying spirit tool by Yun Chujio. Great-grandfather Yi was also very familiar with Dean Gongsun and Dean Duanmu, so he took advantage of the situation and agreed. After Yun Chujio boarded the flying spirit tool, she took out a basket of coral fruits and gave it to the accompanying guards. What a joke! She could ignore the others, but these guards were all combat capable, so she still had to rely on them to protect her. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Yun Chujio checked the various equipment in her storage ring, then leaned on the observation window to look out from time to time. Dean Gongsun and the others thought that Yun Chujio was curious about the scenery below, so they didn't pay too much attention to it. The 4 of them drank tea and chatted leisurely. At this moment, Yun Chujio cried out in surprise, "Those flying spirit tools are very strange. They seem to be surrounding us." Dean Gongsun and the others were stunned. They subconsciously reprimanded, "Nonsense. How is that possible?" Although they said so, everyone still went to the observation window and looked outside. They saw 4 flying spirit tools flying over from 4 different directions. Their intentions were very obvious. They wanted to surround the flying spirit tools they were riding on. Dean Gongsun and the others were shocked. What was the background of these flying spirit tools? Why were they surrounding them? Everyone quickly gave the order to get the guards ready for battle. At this moment, they heard a few guards shouting in panic, "My God! Why is my spirit energy disappearing? Mine too, what's going on?" Dean Gongsun and the others subconsciously checked their spiritual power. Fortunately, there was nothing unusual about them. They asked the other guards, but most of them didn't find anything unusual. Only then did everyone relax. As for the few guards whose spiritual power had begun to dissipate, they were like this because they didn't like the coral fruits that Yun Chujio had given them. They didn't want to eat them at all. That was why they were like this. Of course, everyone didn't know what was going on inside. They treated it as if these people had eaten something by mistake and didn't take it to heart. At this moment, the 4 flying spirit tools had already surrounded Yun Chujio's flying spirit tools. Mayor Huang shouted through the porthole, "Who are you people? Why are you surrounding our flying spirit tools? Don't you know who we are?" A sinister voice came from one of the flying spirit tools, "Humph, of course we know who you are. One is the principal of Xingtian Academy, one is the principal of Wuxia Academy, one is the city lord of Tianluo City, and that damn Yun Chujio." Yun Chujio's heart trembled. Damn it! Why did he mention her name? It seemed that she really belonged to the Divine Devil Hall. If it was any other force, they would not hate her so deeply. It was simply unforgettable, right? Mayor Huang's expression changed. "Who are you people? Since you know our identity, why are you stopping us? Who are we? Didn't you guys discuss how to deal with us? What a joke! Your foolish actions are all within our Lord's grasp. We can use this opportunity to kill you. I presume that your spirit energy has already begun to drain. Ha ha ha. You are now like turtles in a jar. If you want to live, then obediently descend and surrender. Otherwise, only death awaits you." That person arrogantly shouted. Mayor Huang and the others were stupefied. Spirit energy was beginning to drain. They were clearly very normal, weren't they? They suddenly thought of the few guards from before. Could it be that the God and Devil Palace had gone on a business trip when they poisoned them? So only those few guards were affected? Mayor Huang was about to speak when he saw Yun Chujio wave her hand at him. Mayor Huang was stunned. He did not quite understand what Yun Chujio meant. Then, he saw Yun Chujio walk near the porthole and screamed, "Ah! My spiritual power! Why is my spiritual power gone? What's going on?" Mayor Huang and the others immediately understood what Yun Chujio meant. They could only twitch their eyes and shout that their spiritual power had disappeared. Seeing this, the people on the other side became even more arrogant. "How is it? You trash want to go against our divine devil hall? You really overestimate yourself. Surrender now, or we won't be polite." Just as the person in the flying spirit tool finished speaking, he heard Yun Chujio scream, "Sir Dean, what are you doing? Why did you tie me up? Dean Gongsun, great-grandfather, save me quickly. Don't tell me you're planning to hand me over as well. Sob, in your biological great-granddaughter. Even a vicious tiger won't eat its own child." Old Master Yi, everyone only had one thought in their hearts. This fellow really had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. But that person from the Divine Devil Hall thought that Yun Chujio and the others had rebelled in their nest. Mayor Huang and the others had planned to push Yun Chujio out as a scapegoat in order to escape for their lives. What a fool! Today, not a single one of them could escape. That person called out cunningly, "How about this? Let's land on the ground. As long as you hand Yun Chujio over to me, I'll let you all go." Mayor Huang saw Yun Chujio winking at him, so he could only say with a stiff face, "All right, I'll believe you this time." The man from the Divine Devil Hall twitched his mouth. These people were really easy to fool. However, it was also true that they didn't have any spiritual power anymore. Besides obediently giving in, they didn't have any good ideas. After Yun Chujio's flying spirit tool landed, the 4 flying spirit tools of the Divine Devil Hall also landed. Several people wearing black masks walked out and surrounded Yun Chujio's flying spirit tools. "Come down. You all have no spirit energy now. If you play tricks, you will be courting death." A man wearing a silver mask said arrogantly. Dean Gongsun and the others looked at Yun Chujio. What did she mean? What should they do now? Should they continue to act or go out and fight? They could only continue to act if they didn't go down. If they went down, the other party would immediately realize that they weren't poisoned. Could they continue to act? Yun Chujio did not say anything. She only took out a few big sacks from her storage ring. The guy lowered his voice and said, "These are chili noodles. In a while, I will attract their attention. You guys throw these things out through the observation window and the porthole. They will either use something to block or avoid it. No matter what they do, these big sacks will break. When that happens, we will use talismans or spiritual power to deal with them. Won't it be easy to turn the tables?" Hee, everyone felt that the laughter was extremely scary. They could imagine that the people from the Divine Devil Hall were not on guard at all. If these sacks of chili were to go down, tsk, the scene would definitely be beautiful. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she ran to one of the observation windows and cried out in pain, "No. You can't hand me over. This is an extremely shameless act. If you do this, you will be condemned by your conscience, Dean Gongsun and the others felt that these words were meant for them and felt a little uncomfortable. Yun Chuzhou gestured at them with her chin, and only then did they react and start to act. The people of the Divine Devil Hall were very pleased when they heard Yun Chuzhi's wail. One could imagine the excitement in their hearts when they thought that they had obtained the first prize of capturing Yun Chuzhou alive. The reason why they were so confident was because the higher-ups had clearly said that Mayor Huang and the others had all been poisoned and that there was no antidote for the poison that they had given those people, therefore, they must have no spiritual power now. What was there to be afraid of for those who did not have spiritual power? Just as they were feeling pleased with themselves, a few big gunny sacks were suddenly thrown out. Some of these people subconsciously stepped back, while others used their weapons to block, and then they suffered a tragedy. Chapter 2538, Divination 9. Yun Chuzhou had just purchased these chili peppers, and she had specially chosen the hottest ones to buy. The people of the Divine Devil Hall were immediately choked to the point of tears, and they all cried out in pain. My eyes! My eyes! What the hell is this thing? Cough cough, I'm choking to death. At this moment, several more talismans attacked them, and immediately, another wave of miserable howls sounded. Dean Gongsun and the others saw that the fire was almost ready, so they jumped down from the flying spirit tool and began to attack the people of the Divine Devil Hall. Although the Divine Devil Hall had more people than Yun Chuzhou and the others, firstly, their spiritual power was not as high as Dean Gongsun and the others, and secondly, they had been cheated by the chili powder and talismans, so they were at a disadvantage all of a sudden. Yun Chuzhou did not go down to participate in the battle. Instead, she crouched behind the observation window and sneakily attacked them with a small needle of spiritual power. Poof, 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 poof. The man with the silver mask had red eyes like a monkey's buttocks. Only now did he realize that they had been fooled by Yun Chuzhou. But why weren't they poisoned? How is that even possible? Is there something wrong with the information? You're killing me. When he saw the tide was turning, he tried to board a flying spirit vessel and escape. Thus, he fought while retreating. Before he could retreat to the side of the flying spirit tool, he heard someone shouting clearly, "That silver-masked man wants to sneak away, don't let him escape. Seal the cabin door of the flying spirit tool, he won't be able to escape. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks. The silver-masked man was so angry that he gritted his teeth. No wonder the higher-ups wanted to kill this Yun Chuzhou. Not only was this wretched girl full of tricks, but her thoughts were also too vicious. The man gritted his teeth. Now that things had come to this, he could only sacrifice his life to protect the cart. Thus, the man bit his index finger. Just as he was about to form a seal, he heard Yun Chuzhou shout, "He's going to use a secret technique to teleport. Don't let him form a seal. Let's gang up on him and beat this shameless bastard to death." The man was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This Yun Chuzhou was simply not human. How did she know his plan? Dean Gongsun and the others received Yun Chuzhou's hint and quickly surrounded the silver-masked man. Yun Chuzhou was still boisterous. "Hey! Little fools of the Divine Devil Hall, listen up. Your silver-masked leader clearly wants to escape for his own life. He is treating you as abandoned children. Are you willing to be played by him just like that? If you want to live, surrender now. Otherwise, only death awaits you." I know you all have poison in your mouths, but it's better to die than to live. Why bother? The eyes of the people from the Divine Devil Hall were swollen like peaches. They had been beaten up by Mayor Huang and the others, so they were no longer in the mood to fight. Now that they heard Yun Chuzhou's words, their desire to live had gained the upper hand. Most of them expressed their surrender, but a few of them still resisted. 15 minutes later, the dozen or so people were killed, and the silver-masked man was also captured alive. He had wanted to commit suicide by taking poison, but unfortunately, Divination 9 had already warned Dean Gongsun and the others, so he didn't succeed. Yun Chujio saw that the situation was set, so she jumped down from the flying spirit tool. This guy walked up to the silver-masked man and curled his lips. "A fool like you still wants to kill me? There are 4 flying spirit tools, and the number of people is 3 times more than ours, yet none of them succeeded. Tell me, how can you be so stupid?" The silver-masked man was so angry that he kept twitching. "Yun Chujio, don't be so smug. Although our group failed, the other groups will definitely succeed. I'm warning you, you'd better be more polite to me. Perhaps you'll still have a way to live in the future." Dean Gongsun and the others were shocked when they heard this. That's right. Since the Divine Devil Hall had revealed their claws and teeth, they wouldn't just target them. The other guests would probably be hunted down as well. Mayor Huang's face was deathly pale. Oh no! Isn't the Sky-Bearing Alliance even more dangerous? Brothers, I'm returning to the Sky-Bearing Alliance now. Can you lend me a hand? Dean Gongsun and the other 2 didn't really want to go because if what this person said was true, the people of the Sky-Bearing Alliance would have already been poisoned. It would be suicide for them to go, so they might as well think long-term. However, if they refused, it would be awkward if the Sky-Bearing Alliance was lucky enough to survive this time. While the 3 of them were hesitating, they heard Yun Chujio say clearly, "Great-grandfather Huang, what are you saying? The Divine Devil Hall is our common enemy. What is there to help or not? At this time, isn't it right for us to be united against a common enemy? Aren't you 3 right?" Dean Gongsun and the other 2 had no choice but to be forced into a corner and said against their will, "What the little girl said makes sense. It is indeed so. Mayor Huang is too polite. There is no time to lose. Let's hurry up and set off." At this moment, they heard Yun Chujio giggle. "Did the 4 of you forget the most important question? Great-grandfather Huang, why don't you send a voice transmission talisman to Alliance Master Yen to ask? What if he is safe and sound?" Everyone's heart was like a beeping dog. They were certain that this fellow did it on purpose. If that was the case, why didn't she remind them earlier? Why did she have to make everyone struggle for a while before she said it? That was too wicked. Mayor Huang was also flustered. He quickly took out his voice transmission talisman and asked Alliance Master Yen. Not long after, Mayor Huang received Alliance Master Yan's reply, his face revealed a relieved expression. Fortunately, although the Sky-Bearing Alliance was also attacked, only a small number of people were poisoned. There was not much loss. The man in the silver mask cried out in disbelief. Impossible. How could only a small number of people be poisoned? The food was poisoned. How could there not be poison? Yun Chujio looked at him contemptuously. You don't know that, do you? The righteous path of the human world is filled with vicissitudes of life. Your Divine Devil Hall is like a grasshopper after the autumn. You won't be able to survive for more than a few days. If you know what's good for you, you can tell us everything you know. You might even be able to keep your life. Otherwise, you can go underground and wait for your master. The man in the silver mask glared at Yun Chujio with hatred. He lowered his head and did not say anything. He was very stubborn. Yun Chujio snorted coldly. Mayor Huang, since he is so stubborn, please conduct a soul search. After the silver-masked man's soul search, Mayor Huang said with an unsullen expression, there isn't much valuable information. He is just following the orders of a Jin Mian man. Yun Chujio seemed to have known this result, she curled her lips and said, "The Divine Devil Hall has always been like this. The fate of these silver-masked and black-masked men is better. Those gold-masked men have been marked with the soul of the purple-masked men. Once they are caught, they will be silenced. Therefore, it is very difficult to obtain key information about the Divine Devil Hall." It was obviously the first time that the people from the Divine Devil Temple who surrendered heard about this. Most of them were bribed by the rapid cultivation pills of the Divine Devil Temple. Some of them were tempted by money. Initially, they thought that after finishing this round, they would be able to succeed and become famous. Who would have thought that they would be completely abused? Their intestines were turning green with regret. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Mayor Huang, what's our next step? Should we return to Tianluo City or go to the Sky-Bearing Alliance to take a look? Dean Gongsun asked. Just as Mayor Huang was hesitating, Yun Chuzhou came over and said, "Seniors, since the Sky-Bearing Alliance is fine, it doesn't matter if we go there later. Now that we have a good opportunity to help others, we can't let it go." Everyone was puzzled. What opportunity? Didn't the silver-masked man just say that there are still many people from the Divine Devil Hall who are going to kill other guests? Just because we aren't poisoned doesn't mean that those people aren't poisoned. Moreover, most of them arrived later than us, so the poison probably hasn't spread yet. Therefore, it's still not too late for us to rescue a few batches. Regardless of whether it's a favor or morality, we won't make a loss by doing this, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Mayor Huang glared at her. What are you talking about? It's not a business, what loss is there to talk about? Yun Chuzhou shrunk her neck and was about to defend herself, however, she heard Mayor Huang say, "However, what you said makes sense. When we save them, how can they not give us a single cent? I heard that the Chow family is rich and is not too far away from our route. Why don't we go and save the Chow family first?" Yun Chuzhou, fuck. So this old fellow is more calculative. Great-grandfather Yi had the intention to go and save the Fan family first, but Yun Chuzhou did not give him the chance to open his mouth at all. He directly retorted, "Great-grandfather Huang, what you said makes sense. Let's go and save the Chow family. As for the Fan family, forget it. Since that Fan family head likes to use coercion so much, let him use coercion to take care of the people from the Divine Devil Hall." When great-grandfather Yi heard her say this, how could he still have the face to say that he was going to save the Fan family? Moreover, he felt that since they were not poisoned, perhaps the Fan family and Chow family were not poisoned either. During the flight of the flying spirit tool, Yun Chuzhou began to brainwash the people from the Divine Devil Hall. From the medicinal pills they took to the sinister intentions of the Divine Devil Hall, and from their sins to their future in life, she told them one by one that they almost had nothing left to live for. When this fellow saw this, he then said, "Actually, you are not hopeless. There is a great opportunity right in front of you. You heard it just now. We are going to save people. This is a good opportunity for you to turn over a new leaf and turn over a new leaf." Those people from the Divine Devil Temple were like drowning people grasping at straws. "Miss Yun, what do you want us to do?" "It's very simple. When we arrive at the rescue location, pretend that you've captured us. Those people will definitely let down their guard and stab you in the back when you get close to them. As long as this is done, I can make the decision to spare your lives. If you perform well, they'll let you go." Yun Chuzhou patted her chest and said confidently. An inappropriate thought flashed through her mind. Fuck, why was her chest flat? Damn Go Weiba. Go Weiba, regardless of whether it was the people from the Divine Devil Hall or Mayor Huang and the others, they felt a chill down their spines when they heard Yun Chuzhou's words. This little girl was really full of bad intentions. It was best not to offend her in the future. The people from the Divine Devil Hall were originally people who were eager for quick success and instant benefits. Now, in order to survive, they had no other choice, so they all expressed their willingness to listen to Yun Chujio's arrangements. Of course, Yun Chujio would not believe them just because they said a few words. After she made them swear a poison oath, she then released their spiritual power shackles. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Yun Chujio also knew that even if these people had made a poison vow, they could still take advantage of the loophole in the vow or slack off in their work. However, she did not plan to use them for a long period of time. At least for now, they did not dare to play any petty tricks. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and told the people of the Divine Devil Temple how to do it. Those people nodded their heads repeatedly and lit a candle for their accomplices. At that moment, the Chao family's patriarch was at his wits' end. The Chao family's patriarch had also just received a voice transmission talisman from Alliance Master Yen, but he was now unable to respond to it. There were still a few days' journey away from the Chao family and it was too late for the Chao family's people to rush over. He could only hope that he and his guards were not poisoned. After all, they had not yet discovered the loss of their spiritual powers. However, his hope was quickly shattered. Other than him, all the guards' spiritual power had begun to drain, and the rate of loss was very fast. What was worse was that 4 flying spirit tools had already surrounded their flying spirit tools, forcing them to land on the ground. Family head, we will hold them off in a while. Please leave quickly. Your spiritual power is superb. You will definitely be able to get rid of them, said the head of the guards. Although the head of the Chao family was unwilling, he knew that there was no other way. After all, even if he stayed, he would still be outnumbered. The cabin door of the flying spirit tool opened. Just as the guards of the Chao family were about to go down and buy time for the head of the Chao family, they saw a luxurious flying spirit tool flying over from afar. The head of the Chao family could not help but feel overjoyed. He recognized that this flying spirit tool belonged to Mayor Huang of Tianluo City. Could it be that they had come to save him? However, the head of the Chao family was soon disappointed because someone inside the flying spirit tool shouted, "Brothers, you have worked hard. We have already captured Yun Chujio and Mayor Huang. We have come to give you a helping hand." The heart of the head of the Chao family felt as if it had fallen into an ice hole. He had originally thought that it was the reinforcements, but he did not expect that it was the people from the Divine Devil Hall. Although his spiritual power was superb, there were too many people on the other side. He was afraid that he would have to pay a great price to escape. The people from the Divine Devil Hall were very happy. Although they thought that they were almost certain, it was always good to have more helpers. After the flying spirit tool landed, dozens of black-masked men stepped down from the flying spirit tool. One of them bowed to the silver-masked man. "Sir, our sir is guarding that Yun Chujio." "You know that wretched girl is full of tricks. Our sir is not at ease to let others watch." The silver-masked man felt a little envious and jealous. He said with a slightly sour tone, "Your lord has made a great contribution this time. He is really lucky." Those black-masked men laughed and said a few words. Then, they naturally stood behind those people from the Divine Devil Hall. The silver-masked man saw that the patriarch of the Chao family had not come down yet. He curled his lips and said, "Patriarch of the Chao family, do you want me to invite you? Hurry up and come down." The head of the Chao family gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to let the guards of the Chao family take action, he heard waves of screams coming from the people of the Divine Devil Hall. He was stunned to find that those black-masked men had actually stabbed him in the back. Moreover, many people had come down from that luxurious flying spirit tool. It was actually Mayor Huang and the others. What was going on? Didn't they say that they had been captured? Also, what was going on with those black-masked men? The Chow family's patriarch was stunned. The silver-masked man and the people from the Divine Devil Hall were even more dumbfounded. Right at this moment, a smiling voice came from the luxurious flying spirit tool. Hey! People from the Divine Devil Hall, let me ask you one thing. Are you surprised? Are you pleasantly surprised? Do you feel that it's very interesting? The people of the Divine Devil Hall were so angry that their noses were crooked. It was an accident, but what was there to be surprised about? It was clearly a shock, alright? Interesting. Are you fucking crazy? Although they couldn't see the person who was speaking, they could guess with their toes that the person who was speaking must be that damn Yunchujo. The silver-masked man knew that the situation was hopeless. He immediately bit his index finger and wanted to use a secret technique, but he didn't expect that divine fortune teller Jio had already been staring at him. He shouted, "Quick! This bastard wants to use a secret technique to escape. Kill him." Dean Gongsun and the others already had the previous experience. They didn't need Yunchuji's reminder to stop him. Therefore, the silver-masked man didn't even have time to use a secret technique before he was captured by everyone. The remaining black-masked men didn't have a backbone. They were quickly killed and captured. In less than an hour, the battle ended. The head of the Chow family was naturally grateful and repeatedly thanked him. Although his status was higher than Dean Gongsun and the others, it was thanks to their help this time, so he naturally couldn't put on airs anymore. Everyone was exchanging pleasantries at the side. Yun Chuzhou went over and shamelessly said, "Senior Chow, I heard that the Luoping city where the Chow family is located is very prosperous. I haven't been there yet. Can I borrow your flying spirit tool to go for a stroll?" The Chow family head was first stunned, then laughed loudly. "Of course. Everyone, you've helped this old man a great deal this time. No matter what, you have to go to my house to have a cup of tea before leaving." Old Master Yi and the others' first reaction was that Yun Chuzhou was really shameless. Who would take the initiative to request to be a guest? Wasn't this extorting a favor in return? However, they thought about it and understood Yun Chuzhou's meaning. Right now, the guards of the Chow family's head had very little spiritual power left, and the head of the Chow family had become a single commander. If they were to encounter the people from the Divine Devil Hall again, it would be a huge problem. Yun Chuzhou said that she was going to be a guest, but in reality, she was escorting the head of the Chow family back to the Chow family. However, by saying this, she could preserve the face of the head of the Chow family. After all, he was the head of a super aristocratic family, she really could not bring herself to ask everyone to escort him. Everyone sighed. This little girl was really exquisite. She was too experienced in the ways of the world. Dean Gongsun and the others pretended to decline a few sentences and then took the opportunity to agree. Everyone boarded the Chow family's flying spirit tool. The guards and the captives of the Divine Devil Hall were riding on Mayor Huang's flying spirit tool. The silver-masked man was brought to the Chow family's flying spirit tool. The interrogation was fruitless, and the soul-searching technique did not yield any valuable clues. The head of the Chow family let out a long sigh. "At first, I thought that the little girl's words were too serious, but now it seems that the Divine Devil Hall is much more terrifying than I imagined." Fan Jinqing, that old fogey, even framed the little girl for spouting nonsense. It really makes one laugh. Dean Gongsun and the others naturally couldn't agree with him. After all, they couldn't afford to offend the Fan family, but some people weren't afraid. "Senior Chow, you are absolutely right. I was so wronged at that time. I was clearly reminding everyone of my righteousness, but I didn't expect that the head of the Fan family would actually slander me. Fortunately, you stood up for justice at that time. Otherwise, he would have forced me with his coercion. Humph. That Fan Jinqing has always been unreasonable. Some time ago, he even accused our Chao family of stealing the Fan family's spirit stone mine. How outrageous. The Fan family is really unreasonable. Senior Chao is an open and above-board person. How could he steal his broken spirit stone mine? To put it bluntly, if he really wants it, he can just rob it. Who cares about stealing? The head of the Chao family, is robbing more noble than stealing? The Chao family head's face was slightly unnatural. Alright, he really intended to snatch it. After all, the spirit stone mine was money. Senior Chao, do you think that the Fan family's flying spirit tool has also been blocked by the Divine Devil Hall? Should we go and help? Yun Chuzhou said slyly. The Chao family head's heart moved. This was a good opportunity to mock that old fellow, Fan Jinqing. Anyway, even if he didn't go, that old fellow would probably be able to escape. However, he had to make him owe him a favor. Let's see how he would have the face to speak of the Chao family in the future. What the little girl said makes sense. Although I don't get along with that old fellow, Fan Jinqing, we still have to help each other in the face of a great enemy. Everyone, this old man has a presumptuous request. Can we go and take a look at that old fellow, Fan Jinqing, before returning to the Chao family? Dean Gongsun and the others naturally would not refuse, especially old Master Yi. He had long wanted to propose to save the Fan family, but was too embarrassed to open his mouth. Yun Chuzhou thought to herself, didn't that old bastard Fan Jinqing say that I was lying? She wanted to see where his old face would go this time. The Chao family and the Fan family were very close. Logically speaking, the two families should be on the same path, but because the two families were enemies, they deliberately avoided each other. However, the distance was not too far. Everyone quickly discovered that there were people fighting on the ground. To be exact, there were dozens of people attacking one person. The head of the Chao family stretched his neck and shouted excitedly, Fan Jinqing, do you need help? Beg me, as long as you beg me, I will help you kill those people. Dean Gongsun and the others couldn't bear to look at him. As the head of a super aristocratic family, was it really okay to be so childish? Yun Chuzhou was enjoying the show. She couldn't wait for the head of the Chao family to taunt the head of the Fan family a few more times. It would be best if that old thing fainted from anger. The head of the Fan family was naturally extremely happy when he saw that he had reinforcements. However, when he heard the words of the head of the Chao family, he was so angry that he almost died. He would rather escape with some serious injuries than owe the Chao family a favor. The silver-masked man who was fighting with the head of the Fan family was obviously smarter than the previous two. Seeing that the situation was not good, he did not wait for Yun Chuzhou and the others flying spirit weapons to land before he used a secret technique to escape. The remaining black-masked men were completely defeated, and they were quickly taken care of by Mayor Huang and the others. None of the guards of the Fan family survived. They were all killed by the people of the Divine Devil Hall, and the ground was littered with dead bodies. The head of the Fan family was panting heavily. One was tired, and the other was angry. He wished that he could pass out right away. TSK, why is the head of the Fan family in such a sorry state? Fortunately, I came to save you despite the past enmity. Otherwise, I'm afraid that your Fan family would be leaderless. The head of the Chao family said with a fake smile. The head of the Fan family was so angry that he almost died. Chao Menghai, you, don't make sarcastic remarks. Even if you didn't come, I would still be able to get rid of these useless people. TSK, dog-biting Lu Dongbin is exactly what you said. We came all the way here to save you, yet we are said to be unnecessary. It really makes me feel cold in my heart. You. The head of the Fan family was so angry that he didn't know what to say. After all, the truth was that he was indeed saved by the head of the Chow family. Although the head of the Fan family was 100 times unwilling, he still got on the flying spirit tool of the head of the Chow family. After all, his life was more important. Yun Chuzhou did not add fuel to the fire. She was not stupid. If the head of the Fan family were to vent his anger on her, it would not be worth it. 2 days later, the reinforcements of the Chow and Fan families arrived. The head of the Fan family said a few polite words with a stiff face and then left. Yun Chuzhou found an excuse and declined the Chow family's patriarch's invitation, saying that she would visit him again in the future. The Chow family's patriarch also understood that Yun Chuzhou had said that she was going to the Chow family to escort him, so he persuaded her a few times but did not force her. 5 days later, Yun Chuzhou and the others finally returned to Tianluo City. Old Master Yi also returned to the Yi family. After a few more days, almost everyone knew about the incident at the Divine Devil Hall. It had reached the point where the color of a tiger's face changed when talking about it. Yun Chuzhou learned from Dean Gongsun that 3 second-class family heads had been captured by the Divine Devil Hall. Although almost all the guards of the other forces had died, fortunately, all the family heads had successfully escaped. The 3 second-class families had already received warnings from the other forces. Once the Divine Devil Hall had any news, they would immediately report it and send people to keep an eye on the 3 families. However, Yun Chuzhou felt that the Divine Devil Hall wasn't that stupid. At least, they wouldn't make any moves for the time being. This time, the Divine Devil Hall hadn't succeeded. They would definitely turn to acting in secret again and counterattack when the time was ripe. Although the Sky-Bearing Alliance had caught a few traitors, they were all small fries who listened to the orders of the higher-ups and didn't obtain any valuable clues. The various major powers sent people to search everywhere, but they didn't find a single clue. As time passed, the commotion that shocked the entire immortal Yuan continent came to an end just like that. The head of the Chow family had sent many gifts to thank Yun Chuzhou. There were also many spirit fruits and pastries in the gifts. This fellow had a better impression of the head of the Chow family. After all this, there weren't many holidays left. Yun Chuzhou obediently stayed in the Heaven Punisher Academy to cultivate and didn't go out to show off. At this moment, in a hidden valley in the Immortal Origin continent, several men in golden masks were kneeling on the ground, shivering. In front of them was a woman wearing a purple mask. Her figure was graceful, but the cold and oppressive aura she exuded made the men in Jin Mian not even dare to look at her directly. A bunch of trash. Didn't you say that the poisoning was successful? Then why are those important figures safe and sound? Or, didn't I tell you that Yun Chuzhou is very cunning and must arrange more people to intercept her spaceship? Why did you let her escape? One of the men in the golden mask explained, Sir, we did see those people eat the poisoned food, but who would have thought that they were not poisoned? Also, that Yun Chuzhou is only a little girl in the 6th layer of the spiritual profound realm. We sent 4 flying spirit tools to intercept her. We really didn't expect that they were not poisoned, so, before the man in the golden mask could finish his words, he bled to death from his 7 orifices, and his dead body collapsed on the ground. You admit that you did something wrong, but you still dare to quibble. You're really courting death. The purple-masked woman said coldly. The rest of the gold-masked men were even more anxious. Their spiritual senses had the purple-masked woman's soul imprint. If she had a single thought, they would bleed to death. The purple-masked woman calmed herself down and asked, "Did anything strange happen at the banquet?" A gold-masked man hurriedly answered, that Yun Chujio gave some wild fruits to everyone. I think they were called coral fruits. She brought them from the Qing Xian continent. The purple-faced woman frowned. Coral fruits. Only Yun Chujio would give such low-grade fruits to others. She did not suspect that it was because of the coral fruits. How could such low-grade wild fruits be the antidote? It was impossible. The purple-masked woman swept her gaze across the golden-masked men. During this period of time, all of you should behave yourselves and not expose your whereabouts. Especially the few of you who are hiding in the Origin Chaotic Sect and the Origin Killing Sect, do not expose your identities unless it is absolutely necessary. The golden-masked man who was kneeling at the very front was obviously highly regarded. He gathered his courage and asked, "Sir, in the past, we were afraid of being discovered by others, so we did not openly kill that Yun Chujio. Now that the matter has been exposed, why don't I send someone to infiltrate the Sky Punisher Academy and kill her? Arrange for some death warriors to go. Don't leave any loose ends. In addition, you can ask the few nails that stayed in the Sky Punisher Academy to cooperate with you. If necessary, you can abandon them. We haven't found the whereabouts of the Sky Punisher godly axe after so many years. There's no value in living anymore," the purple-faced woman said coldly. Yes. Yun Chujio didn't know that the Divine Devil Hall had already made a big move to assassinate her. After school started, she still went around to seek lessons. Her days were quite fulfilling. On this day, Yun Chujio received a voice transmission talisman from Old Master Yi. He said that he received some spirit fruits that were given to her by others. He asked her to go back to the Yi family with Yi Bingyu the next day to eat them. Yun Chujio curled her lips. It was definitely not just about eating the fruits. If it was just about the fruits, wouldn't it be fine to have someone send them over? Besides, why didn't he ask Yi Wenhong to go back with him? There must be something fishy going on. However, it had been a long time since she had gone back to the Yi family. It would be good if she went back to see if there was anyone who did not have eyes to destroy Xiaohua Garden. Therefore, the next day, she and Yi Bingyu left Tianluo City with her 10 guards and rushed to the Yi family. The journey was very smooth. When they arrived at the Yi family, the two of them originally planned to visit Old Master Yi first. They did not expect that Old Master Yi would send someone to tell them to go back and have a good rest. It would not be too late to meet him at the banquet. Yun Chujio did not know what Old Master Yi was up to. Anyway, she had the Heaven Dao Cliff as her trump card, so she was not afraid that he would play any tricks. Yun Chujio returned to Xiaohua Garden and saw that her calligraphy was still on the wall. She nodded in satisfaction. The 6 servants of Xiaohua Garden stood in 2 rows in fear and trepidation, welcoming the little devil's return. Yun Chujio glanced at them and walked into the courtyard with her hands behind her back. The little devil looked around and found that the courtyard and the house were very clean. The spirit peach forest and the flowers and plants were also well taken care of. Only then did she generously praise the servants. The 6 servants were so excited that they almost cried. When they found out that the little devil was coming back, they were so nervous that they did not sleep for the whole night. They were afraid that the little devil would not be satisfied. Yun Chujio sat on the stone bench and waved at them. Let me ask you, did anything unusual happen to the Yi family recently? Why did great-grandfather suddenly call me back? The 6 servants looked at each other, and then an old woman lowered her voice and said, Miss, I heard that the young master of the Fan family came yesterday. I don't know if it's because of this reason. Yun Chujio frowned and gave some spiritual stones to the old woman, telling them to leave. Fan Mingchuan came. Why did he come? Was it because of the instructions of the master of the Fan family? Or was he here to avenge his mother and sister? Yun Chujio was not afraid that Fan Mingchuan would recognize her. After all, there was mud on her face and she had changed her voice when she spoke. Yun Chujio did not dress up during the banquet. She only changed into a clean akubla dress and strolled into the banquet hall. The banquet hall was filled with laughter. When they heard the news from the maids, the room instantly fell silent. Everyone's gaze turned to Yun Chujio, who had just entered the room. If an ordinary person were to be watched by so many people, they would more or less feel uncomfortable. A certain Jiu was obviously not one of them. Yun Chujio slowly entered the room and bowed to Old Master Yi. Then, she bowed to a few elders. Old Master Yi smiled like a chrysanthemum. Little Jiu, come, let me introduce you. This is your cousin Mingchuan. Actually, the difference between you two is only half a year. Yun Chujio saw a strong sense of adultery in Old Master Yi's smile. Was there a need to emphasize that the difference was not even half a year? It was not a blind date. Fan Mingchuan stood tall and nodded at Yun Chujio. Little cousin Jiu is indeed as the rumors say. She is beautiful and lively, leaving a deep impression on people. When Fan Mingchuan said this, his eyes could be described as gentle as water, even though this word did not seem appropriate to describe a man. Yun Chujio had goosebumps all over her body. What was going on? Could it be that he wanted to act like a cousin marrying a younger cousin? Yun Chujio laughed dryly. Cousin Mingchuan is as sensible as the rumors say. Looks like he has really grown up. If you have any difficulties in the future, feel free to look for cousin. I am a person who takes good care of my younger siblings. Fan Mingchuan's gentle expression instantly turned into a dumbfounded one. Even a fool could understand what Yun Chujio was trying to say. That was, little kid, go play somewhere else. Your sister does not like you. A trace of malice flashed in Fan Mingchuan's eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. He smiled warmly and said, little cousin Jiu is really funny. This is just a small token of appreciation. Please accept it. Fan Mingchuan said and handed Yun Chujio an exquisite jade box. Yun Chujio took it and opened it. She saw an exquisite jade bracelet inside. Now the question was, should she accept it or not? Even a blind man could see Fan Mingchuan's intention. He did not know what he was thinking. He actually wanted to play the game of marriage between cousins with her. Could it be that the Yi mother and daughter had not been abused enough by her and wanted to be abused by her for the rest of their lives? Yi Bingying's hand gripped the handkerchief tightly. She really could not understand why Fan Mingchuan was so special to Yun Chujio. Although that bitch was pretty good looking, she was obviously a young girl who hadn't fully grown yet. Moreover, her spiritual power was low, and she was a stepchild. What did Fan Mingchuan see in her? What Fan Mingchuan gave her and Yi Bingyu were nothing more than some pearl flowers. Although they were exquisite, they couldn't compare to the jade bracelet. Cousin Mingchuan, thank you very much. Aunt did not have time to give me a gift when she came and left in a hurry. She must have asked you to pass this jade bracelet to me, right? After you go back, you must thank Aunt for me, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Fan Mingchuan clenched his right hand and smiled warmly, cousin is really smart. My mother asked me to give this jade bracelet to cousin. That's what I said. Aunt and I are so good at throwing tantrums. Aunt will definitely miss me. Yun Chujio's smile was very bright, as if she was not the one who had pushed Yi Xinwan to the brink of death back then. Old Master Yi coughed dryly. Alright, since we've already met, let's take our seats. The welcoming banquet was neither awkward nor awkward. Yun Chuzhou only ate and ate, turning a blind eye to Fan Mingquan's affectionate gaze. Fan Mingquan managed to maintain the smile on his face with much difficulty. He thought that his mission this time would be completed smoothly. After all, he was more than 10,000 times stronger than Yun Chuzhou in all aspects. She was only the stepdaughter of a first-class family, yet she did not know how to appreciate favors. She was really shameless. Fan Mingquan's heart was filled with resentment. If not for old Master Fan's orders, how could he have come to curry favor with such a rude woman? Even Yi Bingying was much better than her. It was also possible that this Yun Chuzhiu's mind had not opened up yet, so she did not realize his intentions. Otherwise, how could she turn a blind eye to his goodwill? Old Master Yi was the first to leave the banquet. Then, Fan Mingquan put down his chopsticks, and everyone stood up to leave. Lu Shi said with a smile, "Mingquan, if you have anything you need, feel free to tell your aunt. You can also look for your cousin Bingying." Yi Bingying looked at Fan Mingquan shyly when she saw this. She did not expect Fan Mingquan to just coldly say, "Then thank you, aunt." Lu Shi wanted to say something, but she saw Fan Mingquan catch up with Yun Chuzhou who had already left the banquet hall. "Cousin Jiu, we're on the way. I'll send you back." Yi Bingying bit her lips. On the way. Her courtyard and guest house were on the way. Did cousin Mingquan really like that bitch? Yun Chuzhou felt that this Fan Mingquan was as annoying as a fly. If she wasn't afraid of offending the Fan family, she would have kicked him away. This Fan Mingquan clearly despised her in his heart, yet he had to put on an affectionate expression. Was he crazy? "Cousin Little Jiu, I heard from my great-grandfather that it was thanks to your help that we were attacked by the divine devil hall this time. Cousin Little Jiu, if you don't mind, can I come to your courtyard to ask for a cup of tea to drink? Then, you can tell me about what happened this time." A warm smile hung on Fan Mingquan's face, there was a hint of flattery in his tone. Yun Chuzhou looked at him inexplicably and said coldly, "I'm sorry, I mind." Fan Mingquan gritted his teeth and took 2 steps to catch up with Yun Chuzhou. "Little cousin Jiu, there's something I don't know if I should say. Since you don't know, then don't say it." Fan Mingquan had never been insulted like this in his entire life. Even though he was also the daughter of a super aristocratic family, she was still affectionate towards him. After all, he was one of the best among his peers. He didn't expect that he would be insulted by such a trash in his eyes, to the point that he almost couldn't take care of himself. Truly detestable. When Fan Mingquan regained his senses, Yun Chuzhou had already left without a trace. Cousin Mingquan, little sister Jiu has always had this kind of temper. My aunt and sister Sushue were also bullied by her. Perhaps it's because she grew up in the Qingxian continent, so her etiquette is slightly worse. Yi Bingying had been following the 2 people not far away. So when she saw Fan Mingquan being bullied, she immediately came over to make things difficult for Yun Chuzhou. Fan Mingquan said coldly, "Cousin Bingying, gossiping behind people's backs, how good are your manners?" After Fan Mingquan said that, he did not even look at Yi Bingying and directly left. Yi Bingying's face alternated between green and white. She muddle-headed returned to her own courtyard and smashed the things in the house into pieces. She did not blame Fan Mingquan. She blamed all these things on Yun Chuzhou. It was all because of that slut. Before she came back, everything was going well for her. However, ever since that bitch came back, everything was not going well for her. Now, even Mingquan's cousin was taken away by her. She deserved to die. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.